Hong Ryan, hearing this, was terrified. He quickly spread the word, knowing that reporting bullying could work if they involved the law. Before Ha Emin could finish his sentence, Hong Ryan interrupted, "We can't do that. It's not that simple, you don't understand." Hearing this, Ha Emin grabbed Hong Ryan by the mouth, changing his tone. "Hong Ryan, still haven't figured it out after getting beaten up, huh?" He became furious, letting go of his grip and preparing to hit his friend. "That guy is terrifying, and I'm not. Damn it, let me help you." With that, Ha Emin punched Hong Ryan several more times, all the while saying, "I'll take care of that stupid jerk." In the disciplinary office, the homeroom teacher held a report about a certain issue. He said, "Does this seem reasonable to you? Someone has reported on this website that you hired a student from John and Hai to carry out violent acts." The teacher added, "You, the principal, and Dae-hyun, along with Kim Yoon-sung, will certainly be punished. No matter how much Hong Yun and Hong Jin bullied you. It's unacceptable for students from another school to attack our students so brutally." The teacher continued complaining, "It's like a scene from a movie. Crime is happening in our very own Gil High School. Son Dae-hyun, don't you have anything to say?" Dae-hyun remained silent, as it seemed Hong Yun had indeed helped Haemin report Yoon-sung to the school. However, when the teacher paused, Dae-hyun spoke up, "Sir, I'm sorry, but Yoon-sung has nothing to do with this." The teacher, surprised, asked, "What? Did you write this post yourself?" Dae-hyun mustered all his courage and began explaining to the teacher, "Even if I was the one who reported it, does it matter? After 4 years of being bullied, someone finally helped me. I just wanted to get revenge once." The teacher yelled, "Are you saying what you did was right?" Dae-hyun calmly replied, "Sir, I didn't write these things. I'm just assuming. But the truth is, Kim Yoon-sung has nothing to do with this, and that's what you should know." The scene shifts to Haemin gathering 500 of his men in the schoolyard. One of them asked, "Why did you call us here? Is it about Kim Yoon-sung from John and Hai?" Another person chimed in, "If you have something to say, just spit it out already." Haemin, arms crossed in front of his chest, slowly said, "That jerk Kim Yoon-sung has established a very clear system at each school. This system ensures that those who have committed school violence will definitely face decisive revenge." The people standing next to Haemin commented, "Everyone is talking about Kim Yoon-sung. I've tried to investigate John and Hai, but haven't received any feedback. What does everyone think of the current situation?" Haemin bloodily shared his opinion. Kim Yoon-sung is using the victims of school violence as an excuse to take over Daesan. He thinks he can, especially with me around. Thinking about this made him angry. "I can't stand the thought of that jerk trying to take over Daesan," he added. "We can't lose our comfortable lives because of that dog, can we?" A guy wearing an orange hat chimed in, "So, what's your plan?" Haemin replied, "Of course, I have a very interesting plan. It's going to completely crush Kim Yoon-sung's spirit." In a storage room, someone yelled, "How could you think that's unfair?" It turned out to be the guy with orange hair, one of Haemin's friends. Ho Jun replied, "I'm really sorry." The orange-haired guy snapped, "Damn it, that's easy for you to say, you idiot. Your rotten tooth made me a piece of trash. To be honest, back in first year, I was just messing with that poor kid. But you hit me first," he continued, his eyes filled with tears as he listened to this nonsensical explanation. "Damn it, you're just paying for the trouble you caused," the orange-haired guy shouted. "Watching you cry makes me sick." He screamed, "You're responsible for all the pressure you put on me." Ho Jun braced himself, ready for the blow, when suddenly, a young man wearing a hat appeared. It was Yoon-sung. "You must be Emo Jun, right?" Yoon-sung asked, facing the person who had bullied him for the past 4 years. He added, "The trash in front of you is Yu Zong-yun." Yu Zong-yun, trembling, realized who his savior was and stammered, "I'm sorry." Yoon-sung asked coldly, "Why are you saying that?" The person raised his voice. "I had no other choice. They said if I didn't follow the plan, they'd kill my sister." Rong-yun screamed, "Shut up, you bastard," and punched Ho Jun in the face, causing him to collapse in pain. Suddenly, a voice echoed, "It really worked." People swarmed in from all directions, filling the place. Some came in from the back door of the warehouse, while Ha-min entered from the front, wearing slippers the same color as his hair. He stood in front of Yoon-sung with a mocking tone, "Nice to meet you, you idiot. I'm Ha-min." The group positioned themselves in front of Yoon-sung as if to block his path. Ha-min added, "Did you think we'd welcome you with open arms just because you want to take over Daesan? This whole thing was a trap for you." "How touching, isn't it?" Yoon-sung didn't seem worried at all. He calmly said, "About 100 people. It looks like you trash really have a lot of free time, huh? Do you guys actually want to get beaten up?" Someone from the crowd shouted, "Listen to this dog talking nonsense." But Yun Sung remained composed and added, "How about I tell you guys an interesting story?" Ha Min frowned, and Yun Sung continued, "Who's the owner of the Daesan news website, I wonder?" In Yun Sung's mind, a picture appeared, a hand holding a phone. None other than Jose Rin, clearly reading Daesan's news. Yun Sung said, "As the administrator, Jose Rin can see who's behind the posts and comments." To gain Yun Sung's favor, Jose Rin had willingly become part of his plan. Yun Sung smiled confidently, "I have a very good relationship with the owner of that website." At that moment, Ha Min realized he had underestimated Kim Yun Sung. Yun Sung added, "So, I know exactly who's hiding behind those anonymous masks." Ha Min, still trying to maintain his pride, replied, "So what?" Although he tried to act tough, his face betrayed signs of confusion. Yun Sung exposed the truth, those people who wrote the comments defending Ho Jun. What makes them any different from trash like Jong Yun? Just then, Kim Soo from Jonanhai arrived with a large group of people, completely overwhelming Ha Min's 100-strong crew. Ha Min and his underlings began to realize their mistake. What's going on? Jonanhai? The appearance of more thugs surprised even Yun Sung's side. Hong Yun, Lee Zion, Ian Jun Hyu. "What are these punks doing here?" one of them muttered. Yun Sung then turned to Ho Jun and said, "Ho Jun, you were framed because of your connection to Rong Yun. You became his puppet for helping a friend. But you don't need to apologize. I know everything, and that's why I'm still here." After that, he faced Ha Min and declared, "The one who fell into a trap isn't me, it's you." In reality, meeting with Ha Min, Kim Yun Sung had already met with Anong Ryan to discuss the confrontation with Ha Min. But the meeting was not just a discussion, it was an information-gathering session for Kim Yun Sung. He commanded, "You know Shin Young Min and the gang leaders in Tronan, right? Do you know who sent them to the juvenile detention center?" Kim Yun Sung continued to instill fear in Anong Ryan's mind. "What should I do with you? You're no different from them." Anong Ryan trembled as he spoke, "I'm sorry. I've made a big mistake." He knelt down, begging for Kim Yun Sung's forgiveness. "I don't dare ask for your forgiveness. I'm only asking you to let me graduate, please." However, Kim Yun Sung paid no attention to his pleas. He had already planned for Anong Ryan to pay the price. He thought to himself, "You will pay for this, but right now, you're still useful." With that in mind, Kim Yun Sung began to give orders to Anong Ryan. "Listen carefully. Starting tomorrow, gather all the scum you know. Tell them to be ready at any moment." Kim Yun Sung emphasized each word, "When I call, you need to be there immediately." Back at the warehouse, Ha Min had laid a trap, ready to deal with Kim Yun Sung. However, what he didn't expect was that some big players from nearby schools had also joined Kim Yun Sung's team, especially Anong Ryan, who Ha Min had hired to post false reports to trap Kim Yun Sung with legal issues. Ha Min often thought, "What can 20 people do against these guys?" But his voice was firm as he said, "All of them were beaten by Kim Yun Sung. Those idiots are useless." He turned his anger toward Anong Ryan. "Are you insane, Anong Ryan? How could you do this? Don't you know what will happen if Daesun falls into Kim Yun Sung's hands?" Anong Ryan responded provocatively, "What do you expect me to do, you dog, Ha Min?" A voice from the other side shouted, "What did you say, Anong Ryan?" Anong Ryan continued, "If we lose Daesun, who do you think will die first?" Ha Min, angered, shot back, "Did you get hit in the head so hard that you've lost your mind, idiot?" At that moment, Anong Ryan shouted, "You're the one who's crazy, idiot. Do you think you're the top dog in Daesun? What right do you have to talk to me?" Ha Min responded weakly, "Are you sure you can handle this?" Anong Ryan pointed directly at Ha Min's face and said provocatively, "If you can take care of that idiot brother of yours, you might stand a chance at taking Daesun. But I'm not sure you can defeat Kim Yun Sung." He continued to provoke, "If you really care about Daesun, then go one-on-one with Kim Yun Sung right now. If you win, I'll do whatever you say." Hearing Anong Ryan's mocking and taunting, Ha Min clenched his teeth, his anger rising. He seemed to be deep in thought, debating whether or not to confront Kim Yun Sung directly. Anong Ryan's provocation was all part of the plan. At that point, Kim Yun Sung had already asked Anong Ryan what he would do. Accept or decline the challenge. If he accepted the fight, Kim Yun Sung would undoubtedly beat him senseless in front of everyone. This time, facing Kim Yun Sung's army, would Ha Min accept the challenge? Because even if he didn't, Kim Yun Sung already had another plan. Ha Min thought to himself, if that guy can defeat Shin Young Min, then he's definitely not an ordinary person. He racked his brain but concluded, they don't have many people. Why should I worry? At that moment, he was provoked by Kim Yun Sung's taunt. What are you thinking about? Haven't you thought long enough? Before Ha Min could respond, Kim Yun-sung rushed forward like a gust of wind. Keep thinking, Kim Yun-sung said, as he landed an E-strike, instantly taking down one of Ha Min's subordinates. Smiling, Kim Yun-sung said, while you're thinking, I'll get started. He swayed side to side, taking down 2 more of Ha Min's men. Ha Min gritted his teeth. This bastard, he really dares to fight. He looked toward the crowd following Kim Yun-sung and was shocked to see that they were all standing still, while Kim Yun-sung fought fiercely on the battlefield alone. Why are they just standing there? Ha Min thought, now panicking. Does he really plan to fight us all by himself? At that moment, Kim Yun-sung took down another man. He grabbed him by the neck, raised his fist, and knocked him unconscious. Ha Min's inner turmoil intensified as he watched his friends and comrades fall one by one. The remaining ones couldn't bear it any longer and charged in, determined to defeat the bloodthirsty demon, Kim Yun-sung. To explain why Kim Yun-sung was acting so recklessly, we go back to before the brawl began. He had explained to Kim Soo. I can't take on 100 people, but if I don't fight, they'll never respect me. Back to the chaotic scene, Kim Yun-sung prepared his fist, waiting for the right moment to strike like a master. He threw an uppercut, and his opponent fell unconscious without knowing what had hit him. I have to make them fully submit, Kim Yun-sung recalled telling himself. The guy didn't even hit the ground yet, just staggered back from the force of the punch. The man next to him had just realized his friend had been hit when Kim Yun-sung coldly delivered another punch straight to his face. Kim Yun-sung remembered his words. I have to show them that Gangnam is nothing like Daesun. There are many stronger gangs here than in Gangnam. Another opponent rushed forward, throwing a punch at Kim Yun-sung. This time, he couldn't dodge in time and took the punch head-on. That's why I have to stand my ground and not back down, he thought. Kim Yun-sung's eyes sharpened with determination. I won't let myself fall. Kim Yun-sung grabbed the head of the guy who had acted recklessly and kneed him straight in the forehead, causing his brain to rattle violently. When I give the order, they'll obey without question, Kim Yun-sung explained. After hearing this, Kim Soo became very worried, but Kim Yun-sung continued, only this way can I eliminate my enemies. Revenge can only be successful like this. Kim Yun-sung was completely immersed in the bloodbath, transforming into what seemed like a real demon. His face was covered in blood, and his eyes radiated a terrifying aura. A strange, twisted smile appeared on his lips. Seeing Kim Yun-sung's appearance, Kim Soo swallowed hard in shock. Pei Sung-ho nervously asked, are you sure about this? Shouldn't we just charge in now? Kim Soo replied briefly, Kim Yun-sung told us to wait. We should trust him. Watching as every member of his gang lost their will to fight, Haemin screamed in frustration, damn it. You think you can take all of us on alone? Everyone, charge. Kill that bastard. All of them charged at once. Determined to finish Kim Yun-sung. Kim Yun-sung shifted to a defensive stance, fending off each attack one by one. But it didn't take long before he threw a powerful punch that landed squarely on the jaw of the thug in front of him. Breaking through the mob, Kim Yun-sung leapt into a more open space, taking down another opponent before he could even regret it. Haemin, now utterly terrified, stood there, unable to believe what he was seeing. This is insane, he muttered, watching the chaos unfold before him. Kim Yun-sung absorbed another punch but locked his eyes on Haemin, observing his reaction. Yes, this is exactly what I was waiting for, Kim Yun-sung thought to himself. Another thug grabbed Kim Yun-sung by the neck, holding him tightly as the others rushed forward to finish him off. Go ahead, kill me, Kim Yun-sung thought, before suddenly biting the hand of the one choking him. The thug screamed in shock, never expecting such a move. Immediately after, Kim Yun-sung punched him in the face, then delivered another blow to the head of the thug rushing toward him. Both of them collapsed at the same time. Kim Yun-sung reminded himself, I can't fall. Meanwhile, Haemin stood there in disbelief, unable to distinguish reality from a nightmare. He muttered incoherent words as he watched Kim Yun-sung, seemingly possessed, take down one person after another. To Haemin, Kim Yun-sung was no longer human. He believed the guy had completely lost his mind. Dung Haemin suddenly did something unexpected. He ran away from the brutal battlefield, leaving his comrades behind to face Kim Yun-sung. Haemin, terrified, thought to himself, I can't believe I couldn't beat him. If I stay here, I'll end up just like Shin Young-min. Seeing Dung Haemin flee, his comrades shouted, Hey, Dung Haemin! Where is that bastard going? His underlings were confused. One asked, what's the point of calling us here and then running away? Another cursed, that bastard, does he even qualify as human anymore? But Kim Yun-sung didn't let up. He stood behind them and shouted, what are you all looking at? He knocked one of them out with a single punch. Kim Yun-sung added, once you start, you have to finish. At that moment, Yu Zongyun heard this, sneered, and cursed, "Damn it, get out of my way, all of you." Yu Zongyun charged at Kim Yun-sung, and his underlings stepped aside, not wanting to sacrifice themselves in vain, giving him space to fight. Yu Zongyun clenched his fists, preparing to swing a wide punch. Every move he made was in Kim Yun-sung's sight. As Yu Zongyun swung, Kim Yun-sung swiftly dodged. Before Yu Zongyun could retract his punch, Kim Yun-sung stood firm, ready to counterattack. He grabbed Yu Zongyun and slammed him to the ground with great force. Yu Zongyun's head hit the wooden floor hard. At this moment, Kim Yun-sung had the upper hand. He sat on top of Yu Zongyun and asked, "You're Yu Zongyun, right?" Before Yu Zongyun could answer, Kim Yun-sung started punching his face and mouth repeatedly, leaving him breathless. Yu Zongyun could only lie there, unable to resist. The people around rushed to pull Kim Yun-sung off their boss. "Hurry, pull him off." But by this point, Kim Yun-sung had fully transformed into a demon. And the fierce aura radiating from him made the others hesitate to get close. One of them couldn't handle the pressure and vomited on the spot. Yu Zongyun, unable to endure anymore, groaned, "Stop! Stop!" Kim Yun-sung ceased his attack and glared at his prey beneath him. Yu Zongyun, with his face covered in blood, spat out a mouthful of blood and muttered, "I've lost." Kim Soo and Bae Sung Ho burst out in triumphant laughter. They quickly ran over to shield Kim Yun-sung, preparing for any retaliation from the other group. "You heard him, right? The game's over," Kim Soo shouted. "Everyone, stay away from Kim Yun-sung," he yelled fiercely, making sure no one dared approach. At this point, Kim Yun-sung was also exhausted, having to push himself up from the floor to stand. "From now on, Death Sinhai will follow the orders of John and Hai," Kim Yun-sung declared with authority. "When I tell you to come, you come. When I tell you to go, you go. Got it?" 2 weeks after Kim Yun-sung's victory at the warehouse, at I-City High School, Dong Hae-min was still attending school like any other day. However, he was mocked by his classmates. "Hey, Dong Hae-min, long time no see," they jeered. Whispering among themselves, "I heard you ran away during the fight with Tronin." Dong Hae-min seemed regretful, wondering why he had acted that way at the time. But he quickly reassured himself, thinking, even if I had fought that lunatic, who knows if he would have found a chance to get revenge later. It's best not to provoke someone with mental issues. Both ashamed and angry, Dong Hae-min slammed the table and stood up, shouting, "Shut your damn mouths." He shot a threatening glare at the people gossiping behind his back and lowered his voice, "If any of you keep talking." Before he could finish his sentence, he heard a voice from outside the room. "Are you in there?" A predatory eye peered through the crack in the door, and a cold voice called out from outside, "Dong Hae-min." Instantly, fear gripped him. That fear quickly overwhelmed his mind, freezing him in place. He trembled uncontrollably. "What are you doing here?" he stammered. The beastly figure outside moved closer. "Because you ran away," the voice said, "I haven't even asked yet." Kim Yun-sung appeared, like a menacing demon. His cold eyes staring directly at Dong Hae-min. "Do you know Moon Byung?" he asked. "He sent me an email." Kim Yun-sung explained, "He's a target that the Golden Circle hired me to deal with, and somehow I need to silence him." Realizing the trouble he was in, Dong Hae-min rushed toward Kim Yun-sung, trying to stop him from creating more problems. As he moved, he muttered, "What are you trying to do? Do you think you can threaten me?" With a loud bang, the door swung open, and Kim Yun-sung stepped inside. Without saying a word, he grabbed Dong Hae-min by the hair and punched him hard in the face. Kim Yun-sung's punch seemed to knock Dong Hae-min unconscious on the spot. Now, Dong Hae-min groggily opened his eyes to find himself in a hospital bed. An old man with white hair was sitting beside him, asking how he was feeling. "You're awake," the old man said. Dong Hae-min, startled, realized the person speaking was the principal of I-City High School. "Principal?" he asked in disbelief, confirming that it was indeed the principal of Daesun High standing before him. He quickly blamed others to avoid responsibility, wanting Kim Yun-sung to be punished. It's Kim Yun-sung's fault. How dare he cause trouble at another school? He can't get away with this. Has the school done anything to punish him yet? Contrary to what he expected, the principal calmly replied, "Didn't you attack him first?" Kim Yun-sung just wanted to talk reasonably. What he did was legitimate self-defense. Upon hearing this, Dong Hae-min jumped out of bed, cursing, "What nonsense are you talking about, principal?" Ignoring his outburst, the principal continued, "Moreover, all the witnesses say you were the one who started the fight. At this school, you're notorious for causing trouble, so it seems to be true." Seeing the situation turn against him, Dong Hae-min tried to justify himself. "The last time you saw me, I was the one getting beaten up. I'll take this to court." But the principal cut him off, saying, "You know Moon Byun's, don't you?" Hearing that name, Dong Hae-min froze, unable to speak. The principal went on to explain, "It's clear that Dong Hae-min got involved while you were unconscious. Oda One covered for Kim Yoon-sung, and Kim Yoon-sung and Nam Se-in-sok made a secret deal not to inform the Golden Circle. Kim Yoon-sung is already laying the foundation for his own empire. If you don't want to ruin your life, you'd better keep quiet and get out." The principal's words were filled with contempt, driving Dong Hae-min into a furious rage. But he had to hold it in, not daring to explode. Kim Yoon-sung had gotten him expelled, and he was forced to pack up and leave the infirmary. On his way home, Dong Hae-min gritted his teeth, muttering, "Damn it, I've been expelled, all because of that bastard, Kim Yoon-sung." Even his father scolded him, saying, "That bastard, he's been yelled at too." But because of him, his dad lost his job. But Dong Hae-min couldn't imagine that, as always, Kim Yoon-sung was the root of all his problems, and everything he did was to drive Dong Hae-min into the ground. At that moment, his phone rang. On the other end, a voice said, "Long time no see." "It's Moon Byun's." Hearing the name that terrified him, Dong Hae-min couldn't believe it and asked again, "Are you really Moon Byun's?" The voice continued, "I've heard about what happened, don't be upset. Do you know Ju Young-jun is done for?" "You didn't know?" At this, Dong Hae-min was stunned, feeling a wave of fear wash over him. The voice on the other end added, "You don't know who he is? He's the bastard who hired the Golden Circle to come after me." Kim Yoon-sung said, "I'll make sure that you and the one backing you both fall into ruin. Didn't you say you wanted to become a fitness coach?" Before Dong Hae-min could respond, someone behind him called out, "Long time no see, Dong Hae-min." Two tough-looking young men were approaching him from behind. The voice on the phone continued in Dong Hae-min's ear, "Your dream will never come true because from today onward, you'll never be able to use your hands again." At this point, Dong Hae-min's life had completely collapsed. The scene shifts to Daesan Science High School, where two students are having a conversation. One asked, "Really?" The other replied, "That's what my brother told me." Hearing this, the first student said, "Whoever it is, that's insane." The blonde-haired boy looked at his friend and added, "Who cares? That guy's been showing off everywhere like a fool. What does it have to do with our school?" The two students continued walking and talking, when suddenly, another student approached them from the opposite direction. As they passed each other, their shoulders accidentally bumped. The blonde-haired boy muttered a curse, "Damn it." The student who had been walking the other way quickly apologized, "I'm sorry." But the blonde boy wasn't satisfied. He jumped up, glaring, "What an idiot. Can't you even apologize properly?" The other student explained, "I already apologized." But the blonde boy continued mocking him, imitating his apology, "I'm sorry, I already apologized." "You call that an apology? My shoulder hurts now because of you." The other student calmly replied, "Clearly, you bumped into me because you weren't paying attention." This student was none other than Kim Yoon-jin, the younger brother of Kim Yoon-sung, and a first-year student at Daesan Science High School. Kim Yoon-jin continued, "I don't think you have the right to criticize me." The blonde boy, ready to cause trouble, sneered, "Oh really? So you're not going to apologize properly?" As he spoke, he punched Kim Yoon-jin, yelling, "Do you want to die, you dog?" The scene flashed back to last winter when the two brothers were eating together. Kim Yoon-sung asked Kim Yoon-jin, "Which high school do you want to apply to?" Kim Yoon-jin replied confidently, "Of course, the same one as you, John In High. We had to go to university together, too." Hearing his brother's response, Kim Yoon-sung thought to himself, "Unlike my past life, I now have the strength to protect Kim Yoon-jin. Even if he goes to John In High, I can protect him. But maybe a different path would be better." With that in mind, Kim Yoon-sung hinted to Kim Yoon-jin, "Remember your promise to study hard? What do you think about Daesan Science High? Would you like to go there?" At that time, Kim Yoon-jin didn't think much about it and laughed, "If you think it's a good idea, I'll go." Back at Daesan Science High School, in the teacher's office. After Han Byung-soo hit Kim Yoon-jin, both were brought in to resolve the issue. Kim Yoon-jin explained, "I was walking down the hallway when I accidentally bumped into Han Byung-soo. He wanted to pick a fight. Even though I apologized, he still punched me in the face." Upon hearing Kim Yoon-jin's accusation, Han Byung-soo, the blonde-haired boy who hit Kim Yoon-jin, immediately erupted in anger, shouting, "What? I didn't hit you." Seeing Han Byung-soo causing a scene, the teacher sternly scolded him. "How dare you raise your voice when you're in the wrong? Be quiet." This teacher, named Leha Akabel, was the homeroom teacher for both Kim Yoon-jin and Han Byung-soo. Fearing punishment, Han Byung-soo quickly explained, "It was Kim Yoon-jin who bumped into me first and tried to start a fight. I didn't hit him first." As he explained. Han Byung-soo thought to himself, "Damn it, this bastard. I'm not afraid of you." If it weren't for the mess affecting my reputation. Sitting across from the two students, teacher Leha Akabel thought, I pretty much understand what happened, but what should I do about it? The teacher then spoke, enough. Both of you are at fault. Fighting in school is unacceptable. Tomorrow, bring your guardians to meet with me. Upon hearing that their guardians would be called, Kim Yoon-jin grew worried, thinking of how his mother would have to deal with the hassle and be unfairly blamed. He wanted to explain, but before Kim Yoon-jin could finish, teacher Leha Akabel strictly ordered, do as I say. No more excuses. Having been scolded by the teacher, Kim Yoon-jin hung his head, dejectedly responding, yes, sir. Meanwhile, Han Byung-soo, sitting next to him, showed no fear about his guardian being called and confidently replied, yes, sir. I'll bring my guardian. As they left the teacher's office, Han Byung-soo mocked Kim Yoon-jin, who was walking ahead, saying, you're so high and mighty, but you still cause trouble. Must be hard walking around like that. You should have just apologized. Annoyed by his tone, Kim Yoon-jin snapped, don't talk to me. Han Byung-soo continued to mimic Kim Yoon-jin's tone, saying, don't talk to me. So arrogant, huh? Look at yourself. Do you even know why the teacher called our guardians? It's not just because of this minor incident. He added, my dad owns a construction company, so he's just going to scare people for fun. And my brother is going to be the future boss of Daesan High. Your life in high school is over. You're really stubborn, aren't you, orphan? Hearing his classmate insult both him and his family. Kim Yoon-jin was furious, barely resisting the urge to punch Han Byung-soo. Time passed quickly, and soon, it was the next day. In the teacher's office. Teacher Leha Akabel asked, is this Han Byung-soo's guardian? I'm the homeroom teacher, Leha Akabel. The man in a suit, looking very distinguished, responded, I'm Han Byung-soo's father, Han Chun-ho. His tone was sharp as he continued that brat Kim Yoon-jin had the audacity to mock my son and even had the nerve to hit him, injuring him. This is outrageous. How can my son be expected to endure such a thing? He added, of course, school violence is wrong, but this was self-defense, plain and simple. Standing behind him, Han Byung-soo and his older brother chimed in, supporting their father's claims. Seeing the parents' aggressive stance. Another teacher in the office smiled, trying to calm the situation. Mr. Han, you're not entirely wrong. Let's leave it at that. Another teacher in the office agreed, saying, Kim Yoon-jin was the one who provoked things. Let's just punish him. Hearing people side with him, Han Chun-ho felt smug. That kid will definitely pay for this. He then made a demand, if Kim Yoon-jin's guardian comes and apologizes, I'll let this slide. Otherwise, before he could continue his unreasonable request. Teacher Lee Hakbyum, who had been silent up to that point, cut him off, saying, that's enough. I am a teacher at this school, and it is my responsibility to guide my students down the right path. That is the only reason I called everyone here, nothing else. Let's move to the counseling room. I believe Kim Yoon-jin's guardian has arrived. With that, he led the way, opening the door and stepping outside. Seeing this firm response, Han Chun-ho felt irritated. He glanced in the direction Lee Hakbyum had gone before motioning for his two sons to follow him out of the office. As they walked down the hallway, he turned to Han Byung-soo and said, your homeroom teacher is quite stubborn, but don't worry, he won't be able to do anything. Trust me. Han Byung-soo's older brother chimed in, exactly. If you had told me about this earlier, none of this would have happened. Hearing their reassurances, Han Byung-soo felt more at ease. After all, this was his father and older brother, they would take care of things. Kim Yoon-jin is done for, he thought. The three of them entered the counseling room, and someone inside said, please come in and have a seat. As they sat down, they saw Kim Yoon-jin's guardian, his older brother, Kim Yoon-sung. The homeroom teacher explained to everyone, Kim Yoon-jin's grandmother was supposed to come, but due to her health, his older brother is here in her place. In the counseling room, the three family members sat in a row. Both Han Chun-ho and his older son lowered their heads respectfully, but Han Byung-soo, who didn't understand what was happening, stared at Kim Yoon-sung, thinking, is he out of his mind? How dare he show up here? The homeroom teacher spoke up, now I'll present the facts to the parents. According to witness statements, Han Byung-soo was the one who provoked Kim Yoon-jin first, and then the fight escalated. Before Lee Hakbyum could finish his sentence, Han Byung-soo's father suddenly slammed his briefcase onto the table and raised his voice, I'm sorry, it's my fault. I failed to teach my son properly. Seeing his father's unexpected reaction, Han Byung-soo panicked and quickly apologized, not understanding why his father was acting this way. Dad, what's wrong? He asked, confused. As if fearing someone might harm him, Han Chun-ho shouted at his son, apologize. You lied, didn't you? Han Byung-soo, confused by his father's sudden change in attitude, asked back, Dad, why? I didn't do anything wrong. Seeing his son disobeying him, Han Chunho angrily hit Han Byung-soo on the head. Still defiant, Han Byung-soo, feeling cornered, yelled, it was Kim Yoon-jin who hit first. His older brother, sitting beside him, grabbed him by the hair and, trembling, urged him, when Dad says you did it, it means you did it. Apologize to him right now. The father and brother both sat with their heads down, while Han Byung-soo sat silently between them. The homeroom teacher then announced, the school will discipline Han Byung-soo. Does everyone agree with this? The father quickly responded, we agree. Seeing that the parents had agreed, Teacher Lee Hakbelm declared the meeting concluded, then this meeting is over. The father and brother, flanking Han Byung-soo, led him out of the office. Before Kim Yoon-sung could stand up, Teacher Lee Hakbelm called him back. Kim Yoon-sung, I need to speak with you as Kim Yoon-jin's guardian. Can you stay for a few minutes? He added, everyone here calls me rigid, as if I follow the rules to the letter. But I'm much more flexible than that. All I want is for my students to learn in a better environment. I've heard you have a powerful background in Daesun. To be honest, I don't like you much. But if it means that good kids like Kim Yoon-jin won't get bullied, then I welcome you as a protector of this school. Hearing these words, Kim Yoon-sung fought back. In my past life, Teacher Lee Hakbelm was one of the main reasons I enrolled Kim Yoon-jin in this science high school. He was dismissed for standing up for talented students but never gave up on them. He is a true educator, one who never bowed to money or power. Kim Yoon-sung stood up and said, I assure you, nothing like this will happen again. If Kim Yoon-jin does anything wrong in the future, please punish him just like you did today. For a genuine educator like you, I am deeply grateful. I'm willing to bow my head to you again and again. With this thought in mind, Kim Yoon-sung leaned forward, placing both hands on the desk and bowed deeply to the respected teacher. As he began to rebuild his life, Kim Yoon-sung knew that not everyone deserved his deference. But for those who did, he had no hesitation in bowing to them. Meanwhile, the three members of Han Byung-soo's family left the counseling room. Feeling frustrated, Han Byung-soo grumbled to his father, upset that things hadn't gone as promised. Dad, you said you'd fix everything. You said you'd stand by me if I got in trouble. Hearing his younger brother complain, the older brother stepped in and said, Han Byung-soo, don't you understand Dad's situation right now? Their father, also exasperated, sighed and asked, why couldn't you pick someone else to mess with? Why did you have to cause trouble with a kid backed by the Maiwanjin Corporation? Hearing his father's words, Han Byung-soo was confused, backed by who? Why are they backing him? Not understanding the situation, Han Byung-soo's older brother quickly explained, you don't know who he is, do you? The kid you hit, his older brother is the one who's been beating up other students in Daesan, leaving their faces all bruised. His name is Kim Yoon-sung, and he goes to John-in High School. Upon hearing the explanation about Kim Yoon-sung's identity, Han Byung-soo was startled and became hesitant. Just then, someone walked out of the meeting room, and a voice echoed, kid, come with me. I have something to say to you. Knowing Kim Yoon-sung's identity and being asked to follow him, Han Byung-soo reluctantly stood up to go. However, Kim Yoon-sung turned around and noticed that Han Byung-soo's father and brother were still standing in place. He scowled and asked, you're not coming? Why aren't the old man and your brother coming along? His tone was menacing, as if ready to devour them. With no other choice, the three of them followed Kim Yoon-sung to a secluded spot under a bridge. The moment they arrived, Han Byung-soo immediately dropped to his knees and desperately apologized, I'm sorry, Kim Yoon-sung. I was wrong, I'll never touch Kim Yoon-jin again. His father, standing behind, also lowered his head and apologized, it's my fault for not raising my son properly. I promise to discipline him better and make sure nothing like this happens again. Seeing his father apologize, Han Byung-soo's older brother quickly chimed in, I apologize for my brother's actions as well. I'll make sure to knock some sense into him if I have to. Before he could finish, Kim Yoon-sung coldly interrupted, one phone call from me, and the president of a construction company will be bankrupt for raising a worthless son. And that brother of yours who couldn't teach you right, he'll be crippled for life. Kim Yoon-sung's voice grew harsher as he continued, from now on, anyone who dares to oppose me in death and will be crushed. Dealing with people like you is child's play to me. At this point, Kim Yoon-sung had earned the authority to say such things, towering over the three of them like a god looking down with disdain. Seeing Kim Yoon-sung's unrelenting attitude, Han Byung-soo's older brother also fell to his knees, pleading, I'm truly sorry. We've really done wrong, please, spare us this time. As Kim Yoon-sung recalled the scene of Han Byung-soo hitting his younger brother, the anger he felt reignited. Images of Kim Yoon-jin and memories from his previous life overlapped in his mind. His younger brother had been beaten in a similar way back then too. Rage boiled up in Kim Yoon-sung as he clenched his teeth and cursed, you piece of trash. How dare you lay a hand on my brother? Right now, I want nothing more than to tear you apart, but that wouldn't be enough. With those words, Kim Yoon-sung reached out and grabbed Han Byung-soo by the throat, squeezing as if he wanted to choke the life out of him. Han Byung-soo was so terrified that his soul seemed to leave his body. Kim Yoon-sung gritted his teeth and said, "Because of my younger brother Kim Yoon-jin, I'll hold back. If you want me to calm down and let this go find my brother, kneel down like a dog, and beg for his forgiveness." Got it? Not long after, in Kim Yoon-jin's classroom, Han Byung-soo rushed in and apologized to Kim Yoon-jin. "I'm sorry, I was really wrong. I deliberately picked a fight with you, and I also apologize for my irresponsible words. From now on, I won't do that anymore. I won't treat you or anyone else in this school like that again." After saying that, Han Byung-soo knelt down to apologize to Kim Yoon-jin. Kim Yoon-jin didn't understand what was happening, and the classmates were equally shocked at Han Byung-soo's sudden 180-degree change in attitude, given his notorious temper. Kim Yoon-jin calmly said, "It's okay, get up." Han Byung-soo was startled by Kim Yoon-jin's lenient attitude, thinking to himself, did he really get scared enough by his brother to wet himself? Kim Yoon-jin and Kim Yoon-sung were completely different. Kim Yoon-jin stood up from his seat, walked over to Han Byung-soo who was still kneeling, and gently said, "I know apologizing in front of everyone is difficult, so I accept your apology." The innocence and purity of Kim Yoon-jin made Kim Yoon-sung even more determined to protect him at all costs. After that, Kim Yoon-jin was happy to see the change in his classmates' attitudes. He extended his hand to Han Byung-soo and smiled, "From now on, don't act like that anymore." This was the real reason Kim Yoon-sung had Kim Yoon-jin attend Daesan Science High School. From that moment on, Kim Yoon-jin's world changed. His classmates crowded around him, asking, "Is Kim Yoon-sung really your brother? Is he the one who took over Daesan?" Another classmate said admiringly, "That's why you've been keeping things under wraps, huh?" During recess, even the upperclassmen came to find Kim Yoon-jin, saying, "We want to be friends with you. If anything happens at school, come to us. We'll protect you. And hey, introduce us to your brother sometime, okay?" Seeing how warmly everyone at school was treating him now, Kim Yoon-jin finally realized the extent of his brother's power. "I knew my brother was famous, but I didn't realize he was this incredible." This was also the moment Daesan truly fell into Kim Yoon-sung's hands. Students whispered about Kim Yoon-sung, with many rumors swirling about how he might use his newfound power to do all sorts of things. But as time quietly passed, Kim Yoon-sung made no moves. In the blink of an eye, it was already June, and the weather was starting to heat up. In the conference room of the Myeongjin Corporation, an employee ran in excitedly, shouting, "Chairman, we've succeeded. The Sedan City redevelopment project has been a success. The government has officially announced it." At this moment, Go Chang-beom was overjoyed at the project's success. Finally, it worked. "I've succeeded. I knew the high-end villa project would be a success. I understand the intent behind this plan," said CEO Go Chang-beom. A few months ago, during a meeting of the Myeongjin Corporation, key members were discussing the Go Chang-beom project and engaging in a heated argument. "We have no idea what will happen with the acquisition of the industrial zone and the highway. Acquiring 66,115 square meters of barren land is absurd. If we miscalculate, we will face heavy losses," one member stated. In the Myeongjin Corporation's meeting room, Go Chang-seop was criticizing his brother, saying, "Business is not gambling. You are viewing the situation one-sidedly." As the head of the department, Go Chang-seop added, "Acquiring that fertile land at such a price is a real windfall. Building a villa complex there is the reward. If I remember correctly, the road construction in Daesan City has already begun, hasn't it?" Supporters of Go Chang-beom nodded in agreement, affirming that there was no loss and that the land was entirely worth investing in. That alone is enough to prove the land's value. "Do you still think my actions are reckless?" Go Chang-seop asked, reacting to his brother's defense. "Don't you realize we are in a time of real estate market volatility?" Go Chang-seop rebutted, "Right now, we need to focus on projects that can generate profit. Myeongjin Construction builds houses, and people line up to buy them. Yet you want to allocate manpower to a cheap luxury villa complex? That is the most inefficient project I have ever heard from you. You are the CEO, how can you not realize that?" He slammed the table in frustration. Seeing his younger brother constantly opposing his project, Go Chang-beom just smirked and said, "Head of department Go Chang-seop. Land doesn't grow legs and run away. We just need to wait for the right time. That's why I bought the land earlier than anyone else. Everyone understands this except you. Stop complaining and look at the bigger picture. If you want to become the CEO like me." Being mocked by his brother, Go Chang-seop became enraged. His frustration stemmed from the fact that his brother had secured the CEO position before him. He slammed the table and yelled, "So what?" Their elderly father, seeing his two sons arguing endlessly, felt a headache coming on and intervened. "Enough. The project has already been approved. The only task you have is to achieve results. Success or failure depends on you, but can you bear the consequences?" CEO Go Changbelm, hearing his father's question, confidently assured. "Please trust me, Chairman. I won't disappoint you." Now that the project had already yielded results, Go Changbelm's team continued to meet and assess the land he had purchased a few months ago. One employee reported during the meeting, the land alone has already brought in at least 30 billion won in profits. Once the industrial zone is built and the villa complex is completed, the asset value will rise even higher. Sitting below the chairman of Myeongjin Corporation. Upon hearing the project's enormous profit, he exclaimed with admiration. "You've always been a business-minded child, and now you've opened a new path for the company, achieving tremendous success for the whole world to recognize." After speaking, he stood up from his chair, walked towards Go Changbelm, and continued, "I told you, success or failure is in your hands. Don't overthink it anymore. Today, I declare that the next chairman of Myeongjin Construction Corporation will be CEO Go Changbelm." Hearing his father announce his older brother as the successor, the younger brother, unwilling to accept failure, stood up and protested, "What is his so-called success? The internal personnel changes were entirely random." Seeing his second son unwilling to let go, the old father slammed the table and shouted, "This is not just his achievement. Months ago, when he proposed this plan, what did you do? You were so focused on the potential success of Go Changbelm that you ignored the company's benefits and opposed him. That's why the one who cares more about the company deserves the position of chairman." Scolded by his father, the younger brother felt both furious and helpless, suppressing his anger without being able to express it. The old father then looked around the room and asked those present, "Do you think my eldest son deserves it?" Everyone below responded in unison, "He deserves it, Chairman." "I fully agree." The new chairman of Myeongjin Corporation then spoke, turning to his second son, "Myeongjin Construction only needs one successful person. Go Chang-suk, starting tomorrow, leave Myeongjin Corporation and find your own path. I acknowledge your contributions and achievements to the company in the past." Hearing his father say he was to be expelled from the company, Go Chang-suk was utterly shocked, unable to believe his father would treat him this way. The meeting ended, leaving the meeting room and walking into the stairwell. Go Chang-suk panted with rage and cursed, "Damn it, what does this mean? On what grounds is he kicking me out? I didn't want to resort to this. But I can't just give up the company like that. I should have been the heir." After saying this, he picked up the phone and called someone. "Hello, reporter, are you busy lately? It's been a while since we had lunch together. If you're free, let's meet." The scene transitions to a cafe where Go Changbom and Kim Yoon-sung are meeting. Go Changbom smiled and asked Kim Yoon-sung, "Do you remember this cafe?" Kim Yoon-sung replied, "Of course, I remember. This is where you gave me my chance." Go Changbom sincerely spoke to Kim Yoon-sung. "Back then, I thought you were crazy. Do you know why I eventually trusted a madman like you?" Kim Yoon-sung asked, "Because you believed in my plan?" Go Changbom replied, "Because you never hid your ambition. I thought, if it were me, I would do whatever it took to help you climb to the position of chairman." "Thank you, Kim Yoon-sung. I became chairman all thanks to you. As I promised, I will give my full support to the goals you are pursuing." Seeing Go Changbom succeed and not forget him, Kim Yoon-sung quickly responded, "If you keep your word, I will also prioritize you." Go Changbom laughed cheerfully, "You're a reliable guy." Suddenly, a phone rang, interrupting their conversation. Go Changbom said, "Hold on, Kim Yoon-sung." He answered the call and said with a smile, "Director Kim Chye-in-jin, what's going on?" The person on the other end said something that shocked Go Changbom, and he exclaimed, "What? What news?" The news article was about the heir to Myeongjin Construction Corporation being an illegitimate child, born 15 years ago from an affair the chairman of Myeongjin had with a mistress. The child had already been registered in the family registry, and the chairman had announced that he would hand over the chairman position to this illegitimate child. Below the article were countless comments such as, "I can't believe this. Is Myeongjin Construction Corporation joking? This is insane." Go Chang-sok sat in a chair, legs crossed, scrolling through the article's comments on his phone, muttering to himself, "That guy should just withdraw on his own." He held a glass of wine, looking at his opponent being dragged through the mud, with a smug smile on his face. He thought to himself, if he had just stayed in his place, I might have been able to see him as my brother. Looking back, I'm lucky I discovered those unusual money transfers in the chairman's account. Feeling suspicious, he had told his mother in case the worst happened. At the time, when he informed her, she cried and said, "Your father still hasn't abandoned that woman." That's when he discovered Go Chang Jin had a mistress. But the more shocking thing was when Go Chang Sok's mother advised him not to tell Go Chang Byung, saying that if he found out, he would lose control. And so, he uncovered the secret about his father. Learning that the woman had given birth to a child decades ago. Kim Yun-sung demanded, "Director, I don't care whether you want to bury those people or bribe them, just deal with all of those articles." Go Chang Bom gulped down the water in his hand, sweating profusely. There were only a few drops of water left in the cup. In frustration, Go Chang Bom angrily threw the cup onto the table. Kim Yun-sung apologized, "I'm truly sorry, but I have to leave urgently now. That bastard Go Chang Sok has caused a huge mess. He has no way out anymore." Go Chang Bom stood up, staring directly at Kim Yun-sung, his face showing clear anger as he said, "I know he's doing all of this to get the chairman position. But he should know that there are things that can't be done. No matter what, I won't forgive him this time." Kim Yun-sung, sitting calmly across from him, picked up his cup of water, looked at Go Chang Bom, and asked, "So what do you plan to do? Find Go Chang Sok and beat him within an inch of his life?" Slowly lifting the cup to his mouth, Kim Yun-sung continued, "Doing that is meaningless. Such impulsive actions could cause all of your efforts to go down the drain." Hearing this, Go Chang Bom clenched his fists in anger. "So what should I do now? My mother's heart is being pierced by 1,000 knives. How can I just stand by and watch?" Kim Yun-sung, in a serious tone, said, "CEO, be honest with me." At that moment, the faces of Go Chang Sok and Go Chang Bom simultaneously appeared in Kim Yun-sung's mind. He then continued, "That illegitimate child isn't Go Chang Bom, it's Go Chang Sok, isn't it?" Kim Yun-sung recalled in his past life when Go Chang Bom had beaten Go Chang Sok, breaking his mouth. Chairman Go Mung-jin, disappointed with his two sons, hired a professional manager to take over. That was the beginning of the illegitimate child scandal. In the scene, Chairman Go Mung-jin, now elderly and sitting in a wheelchair, still had a sharp gaze. Kim Yun-sung wasn't overly concerned with Go Chang Sok's violent actions but focused on the strange behaviors of the Myung-jin family in the past. Go Chang Sok had once smiled triumphantly, believing that he had won because the power struggle was in his favor. He was confident that revealing the truth would secure his victory. However, despite his attitude, everyone knew that Go Chang CEO was better suited to be chairman, but Go Mung-jin still supported Go Chang Bom. Myung-jin Construction Corporation chose to remain silent about the illegitimate child scandal. That year, Go Mung-jin's wife had to take Go Chang Bom away in the presence of Go Chang Sok. Additionally, she had to solve the troubles caused by Go Chang Bom, who frequently stirred up problems. Meanwhile, Go Chang Sok, left to study abroad alone, never received the affection of his mother like the way she treated her husband's illegitimate child. The mysterious affair of that year slowly began to unfold. After conducting a thorough investigation, Kim Yun-sung reached the conclusion that Go Chang Sok was actually the illegitimate child, not Go Chang Bom. Kim Yun-sung's words left Go Chang Bom stunned, speechless for a moment, but he gradually calmed down. "Why don't you take advantage of the fact that Go Chang Sok has always been a despicable person? That alone is enough to ruin his career," Kim Yun-sung suggested. Eventually, Go Chang Bom sat down, bowing his head as he recalled, "When I was a child, that old man wasn't a good father. He was a drunk, always beating my mother. He really was the worst person in this world. Compared to him, the things I've done are just a fraction." Go Chang Bom remembered the day when he comforted his mother, who had just had a huge argument with his father. "I was still very naive back then, trying to console her. I said, 'Mom, how about I stand up to Dad for you?' Maybe my words touched her, because she finally revealed the dark secret she had been hiding for so long." With tears in her eyes, Go Chang Bom's mother looked at him and said, "Go Chang Bom, the truth is, Go Chang Sok isn't your brother. I don't even know who gave birth to him." When Go Chang Bom heard this, he was horrified and replied, "But no matter what, he's still Dad's child." "My hands were tied," his mother said. "I had no choice but to raise him. But every time I see him, it's like my heart is being torn apart, because I see her father's face, not mine." Suddenly, Go Chang Bom tightly grabbed his mother's shoulders and shouted, "Then divorce him. You could get a huge alimony settlement from him and live with me instead." "You know what my mother said at that moment?" Go Chang Bom asked. She wiped her tears and forced a smile, saying, "Even so, we're still a family, aren't we?" Go Chang Bom stared coldly out the window and said, "That's the way it is. Competition is competition, and family is family. Chairman, I don't care." I can't let this situation hurt my mother. He angrily cursed, should I kill that bastard Go Chang-suk, or let him live? Kim Yun-sung, after hearing this, said, CEO Go Chang-belm. I have a way to solve everything without anyone getting hurt. Do you want to hear it? The next day, at a press conference for Myeongjin Construction Corporation, Go Chang-belm stood tall in front of all the reporters. He was no longer the reckless, spoiled rich boy. He was now the heir of a powerful corporation. Facing the large group of reporters, he spoke confidently, hello, everyone. I am Go Chang-belm, CEO of Myeongjin Construction Corporation. First and foremost, I want to apologize to everyone because my family has disappointed you all. Today, I am here to clear up all the doubts, Go Chang-belm said, pulling out a file from the right pocket of his suit jacket. It is true that in the past, my father had an affair, and that woman became pregnant with his child. But that does not mean I am the illegitimate child. He then pulled out an ADN test report, handing it to the reporters, saying, this is my DNA test result, proving that I am the biological son of Chairman Go Mung-jin. The testing facility is a legitimate institution. As you can see, the blood running through my veins is from both my father and mother. Suddenly, someone raised their hand to ask, so you're saying there is another illegitimate child? Go Chang-belm responded, there once was, but unfortunately, that child was miscarried. Meanwhile, Go Chang-suk was sitting in his office, watching everything unfold on his computer. My father felt deep guilt over the affair and, because of that, sent money in the form of child support, Go Chang-belm continued. The reporters, stunned by this revelation, were left speechless. CEO Go Chang-belm, I have a question. Who is that person? Go Chang-belm replied. That's the truth about my family. Holding the microphone, he lowered his voice and said, if anyone dares to tarnish my family's name in the future, I, Go Chang-belm, as the successor of Myeongjin Corporation and as the eldest son, swear that I will make their life worse than death. In his office, Go Chang-suk, enraged, smashed his computer screen, muttering, damn it. It's all lies. All lies. Back in Chairman Go Mung-jin's office, the chairman said. Thank you, Go Chang-belm. Thank you for quashing the rumors. You should never have been dragged into this. Thank you for thinking of the family, not for fighting for power. Go Chang-belm interrupted. Father, please don't say more. I only did what I wanted to do. The chairman gently patted Go Chang-belm on the shoulder, saying, you are truly humble. Don't worry, I'm already finalizing the paperwork for your appointment. Lead Myeongjin Corporation well and live an honorable life. Before the chairman could finish speaking, he called for Go Chang-belm to step outside. After waiting for a moment, Go Chang-belm stood up and left. The chairman then said, I need to speak with Go Chang-suk. Now, in the room, only Chairman Go Mung-jin and Go Chang-suk remained. The chairman, with his back to Go Chang-suk, stood while Go Chang-suk sat with his head hung low on the sofa. The chairman spoke, I know what you did to try to secure the position of chairman. I don't want to blame you. I once believed you were more suitable to be chairman than Go Chang-belm, so our family has always tried to treat you fairly, not discriminating against you because you were an illegitimate child. The chairman spoke each word carefully, but why, in the end? Did you dig your own grave with your own hands? Go Chang-suk immediately knelt down and apologized. I'm sorry, father. Chairman Go Mung-jin, with a look of disdain, stared at Go Chang-suk and said, bloodline is truly terrifying. You are just like your mother, cold and heartless. Watching her torment your father all these years, just because she gave birth to a child she wouldn't even raise herself. But because you are my son, I thought it was worth it. Chairman Go Mung-jin continued. I will give you a few houses. You don't need to worry about money. Go and retire to the countryside. Upon hearing this, Go Chang-suk clung tightly to his father's leg, trembling, from now on, I will do my best. Please, father, give me another chance. Before Go Chang-suk could finish his plea, Chairman Go Mung-jin roared, Go Chang-suk. The chairman, having lost all patience, spoke slowly and firmly. Go Chang-belm made the decision to reveal the truth only at the very last moment. Don't you understand, Go Chang-suk? Go Chang-belm didn't use this to fight against you because he sees you as family. Still clutching his father's leg in fear, Go Chang-suk was stunned by this realization. He did this because we consider you family. Look at this family portrait, the chairman pointed, only Go Chang-suk has black hair. If you look closely, it would have been easy for him to take over the chairman's position as the rightful heir, Go Chang-beom. But Chairman Go Mung-jin still gave his illegitimate son, Go Chang-suk, a chance to compete with his older brother. The tears from Go Chang-beom's mother were the clearest proof of this. It wasn't just Go Mung-jin, but both his mother and Go Chang-beom who saw Go Chang-suk as part of the family. At that moment, it seemed Go Chang-suk finally understood everything. His glasses fell to the ground, and tears streamed uncontrollably down his face as he sobbed. Perhaps this was Go Chang-suk's moment of regret, realizing that he had been the one pampered all along. Leaning against the door, Go Changbyum's face showed sadness. At Incheon International Airport, Go Changbyum asked, "Are you really leaving? What about your wife?" Go Chang-suk replied, "We married for convenience, not love. I also have someone else. How could we continue living together? We need to divorce." Go Chang-suk handed Go Changbyum a USB drive. As Go Changbyum took it, he asked, "What is this?" Go Chang-suk replied, "These are the necessary documents for you to run the company. I've had my people assist the future chairman. They are all quite capable. Make sure to use them wisely." Then he suddenly stopped, turned back to look at Go Changbyum, and asked, "Oh, right. There's one thing I want to ask you. Who helped you?" Hearing this, Go Changbyum smiled, thinking to himself, "So, he's actually calling me his brother?" Go Chang-suk continued, "Director Kim Cheon-jin? No, it wasn't him. From the very beginning, he was on my side. It must have been someone else, either a high-level executive or team leader." Then he remembered Kim Yoon-sung. If it wasn't someone from within the company, the only person you've heavily invested in is Kim Yoon-sung. But he's just a high school student. At this point, Go Changbyum awkwardly turned his face away, letting out a hesitant, ahem. Noticing Go Changbyum's reaction, Go Chang-suk grew suspicious and asked, "What's going on?" He moved closer to Go Changbyum, suddenly grabbing his hand, which was covering his head, and asked, "Really? Did Kim Yoon-sung really help you?" Go Changbyum sighed, "What an idiot I am. I let my guard down because the inheritance battle had ended." Go Chang-suk continued. "So, everything I went through was orchestrated by a high school student?" Crossing his arms, Go Changbyum warned, "If you dare lay a finger on Kim Yoon-sung, I won't forgive you. Even though you're my brother, don't cross the line." Go Chang-suk turned and walked away, saying, "Relax. What can I even do now?" He sneered, "I admit you're better at reading people than I am. That's why you're the one inheriting the chairman's position. I would never trust the word of a high school student." As he entered the elevator, Go Chang-suk received a phone call. On the other end was Kim Yoon-sung, who said, "So, you finally figured out who I am?" Go Chang-suk didn't seem surprised, responding, "I didn't expect you to call. What do you want? Saying goodbye?" Kim Yoon-sung laughed mockingly, "Goodbye? After everything I've done to you? You think I'm calling to say goodbye? I'm calling to warn you." At that moment, Kim Yoon-sung was standing on the rooftop of another building. He added, "Unlike Go Changbyum, I won't solve things peacefully. You can continue living in your mansion, but you will no longer have any power. So, don't cause any more trouble." As Go Chang-suk entered the airport gates, he smirked, "So, the two of them were in on this together?" He recalled Go Changbyum's warning, "My brother told me if I dared to touch you, he wouldn't forgive me. And you? You're warning me out of loyalty to my brother." With a mix of bitterness and admiration, Go Chang-suk muttered to himself, "I envy the loyalty between you two, but it almost made me furious. I fully acknowledge my brother's abilities, so, thank you." These words left Kim Yoon-sung momentarily stunned. He looked up, watching the plane disappear into the distance. Kim Yoon-sung put his hands in his pockets and walked away. "Finally, I've dealt with one piece of the puzzle," he thought to himself. "Just a few more months, and the day I defeat Wong Kim will come." Rewinding to earlier, Kim Yoon-sung had a sinister smile on his face, staring at his phone. Young Minho, hiding in a corner, was desperately calling him, begging for help. Young Minho's body was covered in injuries, and he pleaded, "Kim Yoon-sung, please help me." The phone screen displayed a call from Young Minho, but Kim Yoon-sung refused to answer. It was the 44th missed call from him. Kim Yoon-sung muttered, "Let him wait until I've cleaned up the rest of the trash." Meanwhile, Go Changbyum entered the principal's office. The principal immediately rushed to the door to greet him. "Oh my, welcome, future chairman. What brings you here today?" Go Changbyum casually replied, "Nothing major." He crossed his legs, resting his chin on his hand, and said, "Next year, Kim Yoon-sung plans to transfer to Seoul." Oh Dae-hwan furrowed his brow in confusion. What? Why so sudden? He had considered Kim Yoon-sung a key figure in helping Tron in school rise to prominence. But if he refused the transfer, it could jeopardize the sponsorship funds from Myeongjin Construction. Go Changbyum smiled, looking at the principal. "Principal, Kim Yoon-sung will eventually graduate and leave the school. Instead of worrying about him, why not focus on building a long-term partnership with us? Isn't that better? I still hope to help Tron in school become a prestigious institution." As an educator, I care about the future of all students. Oh, Daehwan laughed nervously. Of course, a student like Kim Yoon-sung should move on to a bigger place instead of staying in this mountain town. At 11:27 p.m. on October 1st, Kim Yoon-sung received a call. At 11:45 p.m. on October 3rd, he received another. The messages said, "I deeply regret what I did to you. If you give me another chance, I will sincerely apologize and try to make things right. At 1:12 a.m. on October 6th, I'll accept any punishment, I'll do whatever you want. I'm not asking for forgiveness, I just want you to feel better." After reading the messages, Kim Yoon-sung scoffed, "What a clown." Suddenly, a voice called his name. Kim Yoon-sung looked up, unsurprised. "Finally, you're here." Young Minho, trembling with a swollen, bruised face, asked, "Can you give me a moment of your time?" He had left the mountain, dreaming of a fresh start in the city and at a new school. Looking at the school in front of him, young Minho's eyes were filled with determination. His family had spent all their money to erase his past. From this moment on, he vowed, "I must live a new life." Quickly making new friends, he said, "Order whatever you want." "Wow, really? Then we must get the best dish." Someone replied. "Sure, give me a bowl of ramen," young Minho said with a smile. If you're buying food for others too, young Minho is really a kind guy. After saying goodbye to his friends after class, he cheerfully said, "I'll catch up soon. You guys go to the internet cafe first." His friends replied, "All right, young Minho, you really are a great guy." Just as he always led a hand when his friends needed help, young Minho smiled and waved, "It's nothing. I can live like a normal high school student." As he walked, young Minho thought, "I locked the door, left the key at the teacher's office, didn't forget anything, did I? Time to head to the internet cafe." Suddenly, heavy footsteps echoed behind him. "Hey, kind guy," a voice sneered. A bag was thrown to the ground, and the voice added, "Take this home for me. It's just nearby." Young Minho looked at the bag on the ground and thought to himself, Park Minho, the classic bully. If I'm not careful, I'll end up being his errand boy. Even if I get beaten up, I have to show my displeasure. Frowning, young Minho asked, "I don't want to." "Why should I?" Park Minho immediately lunged forward, punching young Minho in the stomach, causing him to double over in pain. Despite the excruciating pain, with his vision turning white, young Minho thought, if I give in after just one punch, I'll definitely be bullied. I can't show weakness. He then charged at Park Minho wildly, shouting, "How can you just hit people like that?" But his fist was quickly blocked by Park Minho, who laughed mockingly, "Oh, how weak." A punch landed on young Minho's face, and he cried out in pain. Park Minho then leaned forward, spat on his head, and turned to the group standing nearby, "Come on, guys, say hello. This is my new toy." From that day forward, young Minho's school life changed completely. He slumped over his desk, burying his face in his backpack as they beat him, mocking him, "Good job. Now take that bag and go buy me some dumplings." He sought his former friends in the hallway, raised his hand to greet them, but was met with cold indifference. "Hey guys, how about we go somewhere after school today?" One of them responded. "Already having bad luck this morning, don't talk to us anymore." Seeing the fresh bruises on his face, young Minho slowly began to grasp the harsh reality. He was completely isolated. Park Minho cornered young Minho against a wall, surrounded by other bullies. "You think we're joking? It's just 50,000 won. You always treated your friends, didn't you?" Young Minho, clenching his teeth and holding his battered face, was filled with rage. Seeing this, Park Minho sneered, "Oh, what's wrong? Is my kind guy angry? What are you going to do about it? Are you going to snitch or stab me? Go ahead and try, you idiot." Park Minho sneered, pointing at another boy who waved gleefully. "Do you know who he is? He's from a rich, well-known family in Gyeonggi-do. His parents could just say a word, and even the principal would bow to them." Mingu, noticing the fear in young Minho's face, laughed coldly, "So, even if you tell your parents, it's useless. Do you still want to report me? My friend will get me a lawyer, and I'll ruin your life. You'll be finished for sure." Terrified, young Minho asked, "Why are you treating me like this? What did I do to you?" Mingu replied, "Someone hired us to do this." At that moment, an image of Kim Yoon-sung flashed in young Minho's mind. "You should just live a decent life," Junjae said. "Don't tell me," young Minho muttered. Kim Yoon-sung was waiting for young Minho on the staircase, hopeful of restarting everything. He looked at his phone, changed his number, and cut off all his old friends. Do you really want to live such a pitiful life? Kim Yoon-sung thought to himself, young Minho may seem cute, but the higher you climb, the harder you fall. Kim Yoon-sung then called someone. How's the thing I asked you to take care of?
The person on the other end replied immediately. There's a guy named Park Minho who goes to the same school as young Minho.
He's been notorious since middle school. Pretty skilled too. Internal evaluation puts him at a B+ level. Looks like Park Minho fits the job. What are the costs and job details? Kim Yoon-sung asked.
Pay 1,000 up front, and 5,000 once the job is done. Do whatever you want, just make sure young Minho drops out. He needs to know that no matter how hard he tries to start over, it's hopeless, the person explained. Hearing this, the person on the phone sighed, you're insane. Kim Yoon-sung smiled from the other end, I'll take that as a compliment. Indeed, Kim Yoon-sung had hired Wong Kim-won for the job. Meanwhile, Park Minho was playing a game of rock paper scissors, flicking young Minho's forehead.
Rock paper scissors is the best. This crazy guy still won't let me go. I have to run fast, but where would running get me?
Mingo sat on young Minho's back, pushing his hands and feet to the ground.
Oh wow, this feels so comfortable. Let me sit here for a bit. Give me 1,001 to sit for 10 minutes? That's expensive.
Young Minho, feeling defeated, realized that no matter what he did, he couldn't escape Kim Yoon-sung's control. His face swollen, tears streamed down his cheeks as he thought, I'll try to endure.
Life is like this. If I keep enduring, maybe they'll leave me alone.
Suddenly, a voice rang out.
Young Minho.
In Park Minho's hand was a carton of milk. He cheerfully said, I left it outside for 3 days. Just a little shake, and you can tell how fermented it is. He handed it to young Minho and said, if you drink all of this and make it through the next class, I promise I won't bother you anymore.
Young Minho, seeing a glimpse of hope, asked, really? Park Minho smiled, what, you don't trust people? I promised, didn't I? Young Minho, under the watchful eyes of Park Minho,
drank the entire carton of sour milk, hoping for an end to his torment.
Not long after entering the classroom, young Minho's stomach started to churn.
His belly rumbled nonstop, and he clenched his fists, biting his lip to endure.
Damn it, it's happening, he thought. He glanced at the clock as time ticked by second.
Just 1 more hour, he told himself.
I'll be free.
Please, help me, he whispered to himself as the clock showed only 15 minutes left.
But then, young Minho couldn't take it anymore. This is bad. I can't hold on any longer.
He was drenched in sweat, his body shaking uncontrollably. Finally, he bolted out of the classroom, running as fast as he could amidst the mocking laughter of his classmates.
Damn, he crapped his pants.
Whoa, what a freak.
Ha ha ha.
Sitting in the bathroom. Young Minho thought, those bastards.
I can't handle this anymore. I can't endure this alone.
Then, a thought came to him, and he smiled bitterly.
Wait, the gym uniform? That's it, this time I have proof. No matter what, if they see this, they'll have to help me. Young Minho's voice trembled as he apologized. I'm sorry, teacher. I went too far.
The teacher placed a comforting hand on his shoulder.
It's okay. Just don't do it again. However, when asked about Park Minho bullying him, Park Minho leaned in menacingly and said, bullying? Come on, teacher. Ask anyone else. Young Minho and I are good friends, right, Minho?
He then kicked young Minho in the stomach.
These teachers, they just keep working until they're fired, don't they?
Park Minho bent down to whisper to young Minho. There are some people who did their job well, but it's because of teachers like them that the disciplinary board exists. Young Minho, you should learn to see people for who they really are. He landed another kick to young Minho's face, and those around him laughed cruelly. From now on, we're all guilty, but they'll testify that everything was your fault.
Mingu smirked, raising his hand, let's continue. I want to see what you can do, you fool. Beaten black and blue, young Minho returned to the classroom, thinking.
What an idiot I was, trusting the teacher.
Is there really no one I can rely on? Have I been hit so much that my brain's leaking?
At that moment, some students approached him and asked.
Hey, is that rumor true? Confused, young Minho stammered, what rumor?
His fear intensified as they explained, I heard you were expelled from school in Daesan for bullying younger kids.
Karma's real, huh? Turns out you were pretending to be a saint all along. The truth became too clear. With his last glimmer of hope snuffed out, young Minho decided to drop out of school.
A few days later, at young Minho's house, the doorbell rang persistently.
Irritated, young Minho got up, muttering, I'm coming. He grabbed the doorknob and opened the door. As soon as the door swung open, Park Minho kicked him hard, sending him flying.
Long time no see, young Minho.
Young Minho, trembling in fear, asked, "Why? Why are you here? You've already completed the job you were hired for. It's over."
Park Minho suddenly burst into laughter.
"So, you knew?"
"Yes, that's right," he said, crossing his arms and looking at young Minho with disdain.
"But you understand, don't you?
Sometimes, there are clients with strange requests. That person wanted me to make you wish you were dead, to make you suffer for a whole month, so you'd know that your hell isn't over yet." Back to the present, young Minho knelt before Kim Yoon-sung.
"Kim Yoon-sung, I'm truly sorry. I'll do anything you ask. Just tell me, please. Let me fix the mistakes I've made." Kim Yoon-sung looked at the trembling young Minho and said, "How interesting. What could be more fitting than a price to pay for the sins you've committed? You've already experienced that feeling, haven't you? The pleasure of others' malice directed at you?"
Sitting down to face young Minho, Kim Yoon-sung added, "However, I'll give you one last chance, for all the effort you've put into finding me.
Defeat Park Minho. After all, he wronged you." Hearing this, young Minho looked up in disbelief. "Park Minho? How?" Without hesitation, young Minho lunged forward,
grabbing Kim Yoon-sung's legs, begging, "Please, tell me what to do."
"I have no power, no money."
Kim Yoon-sung, unfazed, said, "You still have your life.
But that alone isn't enough to overthrow the school.
So, all you need to do is create enough chaos that the police have to get involved." Young Minho's bruised and battered face became even more bewildered. "If you want freedom, prove you deserve it." Manga sat on a chair, hands in his pockets, and shouted, "This isn't fun anymore.
I'm bored."
He excitedly thought about the money he had received.
Wong Kim-won is truly crazy.
"I can't believe I got paid 6,000 won just to bully young Minho, and an extra 1,000 won bonus each month.
Maybe I should treat myself to a vacation?" Just then, a middle-aged man approached,
placing a police badge in front of him.
"You're Park Mingo, right? Come with me while I'm still willing to be reasonable." Mingu, surprised, stared at the police officer. "A cop?" The officer then explained the situation to Park Mingo. "Do you know young Minho?
Last night, he jumped off a building in an attempt to commit suicide." At the police station, the officer continued, "He jumped from the 4th floor.
He's still alive, but he hasn't regained consciousness yet."
Hearing this, Park Mingo scratched his head, looking irritated. "What does that have to do with me?" Seeing Park Mingo's indifferent attitude, the officer said sternly, "You really are shameless." The officer pulled out a suicide note, saying, "Young Minho mentioned your name in his note, stating that the reason he no longer wanted to live was because of you."
"But that's not all."
The officer, using sharp reasoning, accused Park Mingo, "We have multiple witnesses who saw you bullying him. Surveillance cameras also captured footage of you breaking into young Minho's house." Park Mingo stammered, that was. The officer, now looking more serious, continued,
"Let's see how you explain this. What happened?"
Seeing the panic in Park Mingo's eyes, the officer mockingly said, "It's obvious just by looking at you.
Not to mention, all the evidence points directly to you."
At that moment, Park Mingo was truly scared.
"It's over. I'm done for. What do I do now?" The officer kept pressing, "What are you thinking about? Based on the evidence we've collected, you'll be sent to juvenile detention. Young Minho's family also intends to file a lawsuit against you." The officer's words jolted Park Mingo. He stared at the suicide note accusing him and began trembling uncontrollably. "This isn't fair. It's not like I wanted this. Are they really going to pin all the responsibility on me? No way. I won't let this slide."
With that thought, Park Mingo said, "I'll tell you the truth.
Actually, I was hired to bully young Minho. Have you ever heard of Wong Kim-won?"
The moment Park Mingo mentioned the name, the officer was startled.
"Are you out of your mind?" The officer quickly turned off the recording device and moved the camera away. Seeing the officer's actions, Park Mingo asked in shock, "What are you doing?" The officer, now looking at Park Mingo intently, said, "You still don't get why they paid you so much, do you? Wasn't it to complete the job?"
Park Mingo asked, confused. The officer's expression shifted, and Park Mingo suddenly felt a chill.
Could it really be true? Does Wong Kim-won's influence control all of South Korea?
The officer leaned in close to Park Mingo and whispered, "You idiot. The money wasn't just to finish the job. It was to make sure you take all the blame if things go wrong." The officer revealed the harsh truth, leaving Park Mingo in stunned silence. The officer spoke calmly, "Mingu, if you want to keep talking about Wong Kim-won, go ahead. But who would believe you? His words felt like countless knives stabbing Park Min-go's heart. People like us, those at the police station, the prosecutors, and the court. What evidence do you have? The officer's words were a mixture of advice and threat. If you want to find out what you'll be up against, just do what you want. After finishing. The officer smiled subtly and walked away, leaving Park Min-go alone in the room, utterly confused. You know what to do now, right? Handle everything properly, the officer said casually as he left. If you want to live, remember this. Central Hospital, Gyeonggi-do, Ward A. At Central Hospital, in the waiting area, people gathered, waiting for the latest news about a high school student from Gyeonggi who had been a victim of school violence. After attempting suicide at school after hours, the boy had luckily survived. The voice of the news anchor on the TV blended with the chatter of those in the waiting area, creating a chaotic atmosphere. The culprit, a male student named Park, has admitted to everything. According to South Korean law, he will face trial. Oh my god, what a disgrace to the family. This kind of person should be cursed and left to rot in prison. Lock him up so he lives alone for the rest of his life. Kim Yoon-sung walked down the stairs, also hearing the news. Finally, Park Min-go has taken all the blame. Inwardly, Kim Yoon-sung felt a sense of relief. If I had acted impulsively back then, it would have been me in jail right now. To completely eliminate Wong Kim-won. I need to seize every opportunity. He stopped in front of the hospital room door, raised his hand, and knocked. But I should also take some time to enjoy the satisfaction this little game has brought me. A voice from inside the room said, "Come in." When Yoon Min-ho's mother saw him, she was furious. Pointing at Kim Yoon-sung, "Are you crazy? Who gave you the right to come in here?" Kim Yoon-sung quickly shut the door behind him and said, "What's wrong? Are you going to call the nurse?" She angrily shouted, "Get out. Didn't you hear what I said?" Ignoring her, Kim Yoon-sung calmly walked closer to the bed. "I just want to talk to Yoon Min-ho for a bit." "Relax, we're in a hospital. I'm not going to do anything crazy here." She remained on guard, demanding, "What do you want?" Kim Yoon-sung, expressing his intentions, said, "I promised Yoon Min-ho that I wouldn't bully him anymore. But if you keep pushing me out, who knows what I might end up doing?" Yoon Min-ho's mother glared at Kim Yoon-sung with suspicion, thinking, "This madman. He really might do what he says." Still resolute, she warned him, "I'm telling you, if you lay a finger on Yoon Min-ho." Kim Yoon-sung, growing impatient, cut her off. All right. As Kim Yoon-sung walked past her, she continued her threats, "You'd better remember what I said. If I hear anything, I'll storm in." Kim Yoon-sung sighed, sounding exasperated. "Stop nagging and leave already." Once the room was quiet, Kim Yoon-sung approached Yoon Min-ho's bed and grasped his frail hand. "Yoon Min-ho, on my way here. I prayed so desperately, almost to the point of hopelessness," he murmured. Kim Yoon-sung lowered his head next to Yoon Min-ho, whispering, "Vaseline, wake up." Tears welled up in his eyes, mingling with his sinister laughter. "From now on, remember this. Remember the feeling. Remember every word I say in this very moment. Even if you sink into eternal sleep. Remember it all." As Kim Yoon-sung laughed, he continued, "You'd better give up and accept your fate. You know, seeing you squirm like a worm brings me more joy than I can bear." He stared at the unconscious Yoon Min-ho lying on the hospital bed. "Yoon Min-ho, I never intended to keep my promise to you. So, if you want to live, go ahead and keep doing so." Kim Yoon-sung spoke to himself, ignoring the silent tears streaming down Yoon Min-ho's face. "Because if you wake up, you'll have to face me again. You'll have to face your own misfortune." After wrapping up his visit to the hospital, Kim Yoon-sung went to the supermarket to pick up some food. "I didn't choose this path out of righteousness, nor for some noble cause. I just wanted revenge, but I also can't be consumed solely by hatred." He began observing the world around him as he shopped, thinking, "Because in this life, I need to make sure that those around me are happy too." After selecting some pork, Kim Yoon-sung headed to the checkout. "Besides the pork, what else do I need to buy?" No need to prepare any more stickers for Kim Yoon-jin either. At the cashier, a girl scanned his items, her face turning pale as she recognized his voice. "That will be 8,101. Would you like to earn points?" she asked nervously. Ignoring the cashier's words, the girl panicked and ran off. "I'm not buying these anymore," she muttered as she fled. Kim Yoon-sung watched her familiar figure disappear and chuckled. "Ah, well." Returning home, Kim Yoon-sung cooked leisurely while on the phone. "I've already spent the money for the investigation. Turns out, you were right. That girl's family bribed the hospital's doctors to forge medical records. She didn't have her leg amputated at all.
He smirked, thinking, it's touching to see what parents will do for their children. The person on the other end of the line suddenly asked, so, what do you want me to do now? Do you want me to get rid of that doctor and hygiene?
Kim Yoon-sung tasted a piece of the fragrant pork and replied, no need.
Let them live.
The person on the other end, while looking at their computer screen, laughed and said, he's a man with money and power.
He won't give up on his daughter that easily. After all, he even hired Wong Kim-won for her.
Go Changbom, still confused, asked.
Then why do you want to let them go?
Kim Yoon-sung thought about the items Haiji left behind at the supermarket.
You know what Haiji bought at the supermarket? It wasn't just some snacks she could carry with her.
After pretending to be sick for months, she must have felt suffocated. Kim Yoon-sung also vaguely guessed the difficult situation the girl was in.
She only wore a hoodie outside. Probably afraid of being recognized.
She was likely just out for some fresh air.
Kim Yoon-sung remained optimistic and didn't pay much attention to it.
It's not the first time she's gone out, and it hasn't caused any major issues. He thought casually, while on the other end of the line, Haiji was nervous.
What if he realizes who I am? No, he probably won't recognize me.
Kim Yoon-sung continued to describe the girl's condition to Go Changbom. She can walk on her 2 feet but can't do so in front of others. She can open the door, but she can't step outside. He said this because he understood the immense pain both Haiji and Yoon Minho had endured over a long period.
Smiling, Kim Yoon-sung covered the pot on the stove. It's like living in hell, don't you think?
I'm just giving them back all the despair they once brought to me. Time passed, and the 11th grade came to an end. Life continued peacefully for most, but not for Kim Yoon-sung. In the dojo, 2 young men were fiercely sparring on the rain. Kim Yoon-sung swiftly dodged his opponent's attacks, while Kim Soo blocked one of his kicks. One used his fists, the other his legs, as they tangled together, competing to see who would come out on top. The timer next to them stopped, and both fighters halted simultaneously.
Kim Soo collapsed onto the rain, panting. We're supposed to practice 5 rounds, 5 minutes each. How did you tire so quickly?
Kim Yoon-sung wiped the sweat from his forehead.
Replying nonchalantly, it's not that hard. From below the rain, a voice called out, you guys are really into training, aren't you?
Seeing someone approaching, both young men bowed in greeting.
Coach, you're finally here. The coach looked at Kim Yoon-sung and said, do you remember the first time we met?
You asked me to help you defeat all your opponents and reach the top before the winter of your 11th grade year.
The coach looked at Kim Yoon-sung with satisfaction and said, the training process is almost over now. This weekend, don't go anywhere. We'll be testing the results of your training. Curious, Kim Yoon-sung asked. Where are we going?
The coach replied, Seoul. In a few days, we'll head to Seoul as planned.
At the training gym of Lee Ju-haka in Seoul, Dung Duchin entered the room.
The people inside the gym were taken aback upon seeing him, their eyes wide with surprise.
Isn't that Dung Duchin? They whispered, look, what's he doing here? He's a friend of the coach. Dung Duchin walked straight into the room, where people stood up to greet him. How have you been? Someone asked. Dung Duchin casually responded, not bad. What about you? The person sighed in response, you can see for yourself. I've been swamped.
The man speaking was none other than the fitness coach, Lee Ju-haka. He complained about his packed schedule, saying, one of my trainees just joined up, and my reputation has grown.
I've had to turn down numerous trainees because I simply don't have the time. Upon hearing this, Dung Duchin commented, sounds impressive.
Reflecting on the man before him, Young Do Cheon recalled the past. Lee Ju-haka used to be nothing more than a tag along in the training gym, idolizing me like a god. But things had changed dramatically after rumors spread about Young Do Cheon's use of performance-enhancing drugs. After Young Do Cheon's downfall, Lee Ju-haka had joined off and quickly surpassed his former mentor in fame.
However, there was one truth that no one knew. Lee Ju-haka also used drugs. Thinking back on the past, Dung Duchin couldn't help but feel bitter.
If I hadn't been caught using drugs, all the glory Lee Ju-haka has now would have been mine.
I can't believe I'm thinking like this. I feel pathetic.
Without beating around the bush, Dung Duchin stated the purpose of his visit. It's been a long time since we last met, so I thought I'd make this request.
I hope it's not too much to ask. Could you let your students spar with mine?
You know how the conditions here in Seoul are different from those in the suburbs. Crossing his arms confidently, Lee Ju-haka replied.
A sparring match, huh? That's tough, Young Do Cheon.
We're not strangers, so I'll be blood with you.
Lee Ju-haka's words hit Young Do Cheon where it hurt. You can't salvage your public image anymore.
Everyone knows the full story through YouTube, so they're fully aware of your past. My students might refuse to spar once they find out who's asking.
Seeing Dung Duchin remain silent, Lee Ju-haka continued his mocking tone, come on.
You don't need to go to all this trouble.
What do you gain by training your students so hard?
Just focus on helping them eat well, exercise, and stay healthy.
That's enough.
Lee Ju-haka expected his taunts to shame Dung Duchin, but to his surprise, Dung Duchin appeared rather cheerful, even smiling. Thank goodness, he thought, this worthless machine hasn't changed a bit. Still the same trash with a dirty past, just as I imagined. Confidently, Dung Duchin smiled back, don't worry.
I have no intention of restarting my career.
I just want to see how much my students have improved.
I'm not like you, constantly bragging about having disciples.
Hearing this, Lee Ju-haka felt elated inside, thinking this was the perfect opportunity to humiliate Dung Duchin and, at the same time, promote his gym. He quickly took the bait, saying, well then, let's have a match. That weekend, Dung Duchin and his 2 students made their way to Seoul. Kim Soo, excited, looked around and exclaimed,
wow, this place is amazing.
Soo was so thrilled that Dung Duchin had to stop him, don't go around boasting that you're from the countryside.
Meanwhile, at Lee Ju-haka's gym,
the fighters began murmuring when they heard about the match against Dung Duchin's high school students.
Fighting high schoolers?
Coach, are you joking?
This isn't just some casual sparring session.
Think about our reputation, one of the fighters said. The one speaking was Wang Der-myung, a fighter with 3 wins and 3 losses in the last 6 months, set to participate in an upcoming championship match. Beside him was In Rong-ruk, a fighter with 1 loss in 4 months.
A National Martial Arts Association expert. Lee Ju-haka began persuading the 2.
These are high school students trained by Dung Duchin. You can easily take them down, and it'll bring a lot of attention.
In this day and age, athletes need to stay in the spotlight. I'll make all the arrangements. This is a great opportunity. Hearing Lee Ju-haka's reasoning,
both fighters agreed.
Alright, we're in, we'll teach them a lesson. Lee Ju-haka laughed heartily, that's my students. The reason Lee Ju-haka was so eager was because, in the past, he had been a failure. Now, people remembered him as a pillar of awful success, a dramatic rise from his former self. But for Lee Ju-haka, that time held no fond memories. His awful record was 2 wins and 5 losses. Even with the use of performance-enhancing drugs, Lee Ju-haka still lost to Dung Duchin, all the way until his retirement. So, when he met Dung Duchin again, he had secretly made up his mind to bring him down. Seeing Dung Duchin again filled him with an indescribable joy, but the hopeful look in Dung Duchin's eyes toward his students irritated him. After making all the necessary arrangements, Lee Ju-haka couldn't help but flash a sly grin. This is going to be even more fun than I imagined. This time, I'll show him that I'm a better teacher than he ever was. On the day of the match, the 3 of them entered the arena, receiving judgmental looks from the audience.
There were many familiar faces, including representatives from the Martial Arts Association. Just one glance, and Dung Duchin could tell Lee Ju-haka's true intentions. This bastard, Lee Ju-haka, wants to cause more trouble for me. After Kim Yoon-sung and Kim Soo were ready, young Do-cheon called his students over. Seeing the calm expressions on their faces, young Do-cheon smiled inwardly.
These kids aren't nervous at all. Dung Duchin helped Kim Soo put on his gloves. Do you know why they invited professionals and even people from the Martial Arts Association to this small match? Curious, Kim Soo asked, does that mean this fight will be tough? Contrary to Kim Soo's thoughts, Dung Duchin had a different perspective. Not really. Once you defeat them, there won't be any high school students who can beat you too. At least not anytime soon.
At that moment, Dung Duchin was also filled with a fighting spirit. For the first time, young Do-cheon realized that his students could inspire him, too. Being a teacher is pretty amazing. Finally, the match began, and the announcer called the fighters to their positions. Young Do-cheon decided to let Kim Soo take the first round. Coach Lee Ju-haka had indeed set up a death match, thinking, I didn't want to fight against high school students, but there's no choice. He picked the wrong coach. However, when the man saw the confident look on Kim Soo's face, he felt annoyed. What's with this kid? He looks like he deserves a beating. The bell rang, signaling the start of the match. The man charged forward, aiming a punch directly at Kim Soo's face. I've got to hit his face first. But just as he was about to strike, Kim Soo blocked it with a swift kick. Shocked, the man asked, how did you know I was going for that move? Have you been training in boxing? The man, dodging and probing, tried to land another blow, but Kim Soo's kicks kept targeting his legs. In his head, the man strategized, I need to block his low kicks and then counter. but the next kick stunned him. A calf kick? The technique Kim Soo used was a low attack targeting his opponent's calves.
A method to disable movement by inflicting damage to the legs.
The man cursed in frustration, damn it. The man was genuinely shocked that he managed to block Kim Soo's attack. How can this kid fight with such terrifying technique? He thought as he backed away, his face flushed red with anger, veins bulging.
This brat thinks he can beat me just because I specialize in boxing?
I swear I won't let you land another low kick. Kim Soo, meanwhile, realized what his opponent was planning. I've hit him a few times, but now he's locked onto my legs. He's figured me out, but that's okay, I've got another plan. The man charged forward with his fists again, and Kim Soo raised his leg for another counter.
The man hesitated for a split second, not yet ready to react. I just need to be half a second faster.
Then came a powerful kick aimed straight at his head. The man was struck hard, and he collapsed to the mat, lying still with no intention of standing back up to fight. The referee called an end to the match. After his victory, Kim Soo turned to face Kim Yoon-sung. You probably moved to Seoul just so you could call me weak, he said, but I'll make sure you see what I'm really capable of. Kim Soo glanced at Kim Yoon-sung's determined expression and smirked. My strength isn't limited to just Sin. He looked at his coach with pride. Coach, you said Seoul is a vast sea, but this professional fighter couldn't even last a single round. Pointing at himself, Kim Soo arrogantly added. If this is all they've got, there's no need for Kim Yoon-sung to step in.
I'll handle the next one myself. Hearing this, Lee Joo-haka was so furious he couldn't stop swearing. You little punk, did anyone at your school teach you manners? Those nearby rushed over to hold Lee Joo-haka back, trying to calm him down. Calm down, coach, calm down.
He refused to accept the result.
Dong Du-cheon, don't get cocky. You just got lucky this time. This brat keeps running his mouth. Aren't you going to teach your students some respect? Dong Du-cheon wasn't about to let this opportunity slip. He's right, he replied. Even if it was luck, your fighter couldn't last a single round. If you're going to challenge someone, you should at least be mentally prepared. Is this what professionals are like? Not holding back, Dong Du-cheon continued, so, what else do you want to do? I'd say Kim Soo has already warmed up. Lee Joo-haka was too angry to respond and had no choice but to swallow his pride and retreat. Dong Du-cheon relished the moment, his confidence soaring. He wondered what rumors would start spreading in the martial arts world after this. Lee Joo-haka gritted his teeth and said, if your student ends up crippled, don't blame me. The defeated fighter, holding his injury, stepped off the mat and apologized, I'm sorry, coach. Lee Joo-haka, seething with anger, snapped, useless. Shut up and go train. He then turned to the fighter beside him. Wang Daemyeong, and asked, can you handle this? Wang Daemyeong let out a cold laugh and replied confidently, of course, coach. You know this is my specialty. Lee Joo-haka patted Wang Daemyeong on the shoulder, encouraging him, I believe in you. The bell rang once again, signaling the start of the match. Both fighters began cautiously probing each other. Wang Daemyeong threw a few basic punches, but onlookers were confused, thinking, is Wang Daemyeong fighting defensively? That's not like him. Hearing the murmurs, Lee Joo-haka scoffed, as if any of you understand anything. He's just testing his opponent, gauging his reach and attack range. After a brief period of analysis, Wang Daemyeong was ready. He charged at Kim Soo with incredible speed. Dong Du-cheon, watching closely from the stands, analyzed the fight carefully. That kick just now was lightning fast, and from such a long distance too. Almost landed. This Wang Daemyeong guy is great at managing distance. He'll be a real challenge for Kim Soo. Kim Soo, feeling the difference in skill, took a step back, but remained determined. He's strong, but if I give up now, all my efforts will be wasted. Wang Daemyeong charged again, but Kim Soo quickly dodged. He kept reminding himself, I have to remember why I trained so hard, why I endured all the beatings I took every single day. Kim Soo raised his arms, blocking the relentless attacks from Wang Daemyeong. It seemed as though he was waiting for the right moment. His eyes became sharp, as if he was watching for something specific. His jaws open, this is it, Kim Soo thought. Charging forward to strike. But Wang Daemyeong was faster. He lowered his stance to dodge Kim Soo's attack and countered with a punch straight to Kim Soo's face from below. Wang Daemyeong was elated. Got him, a direct hit to the face. You're done. But Kim Soo, refusing to give up, opened his eyes once more and charged forward, attacking again. Wang Daemyeong, shocked, retreated while defending against Kim Soo's attacks. This kid, he took a punch like that and still has the guts to keep attacking? Looking at Kim Su's hands, Wang Daemyeon quickly analyzed, is he going for an uppercut?
In Kim Su's mind, thoughts of Kim Yun-sung were running wild. You used to be such a happy person, Kim Yun-sung.
What happened to you? Why did you become like this?
Even though Kim Su saw the changes in Kim Yun-sung, he remained steadfast in his beliefs.
But I understand, no matter how cold and heartless you become, deep down, you're still the same. This is why I keep pushing myself.
I can't just stand by and watch you face danger alone. Even if knocked down, Kim Su trusted in what he was doing. Maybe it'll take me several lifetimes to truly understand your thoughts and feelings, but I won't give up. Kim Su, filled with confidence, looked at his opponent without fear. Because you pulled me out of my darkest days, Kim Yun-sung.
This time, no matter what happens, I won't let you go. With a swift move, Kim Su grabbed his opponent's neck, locking it in a tight hold.
The man gasped for air, his face turning pale. Struggling to breathe, he had no choice but to signal his defeat. Lee Ju-haka stood below the rain, eyes wide with shock,
unable to believe what had just happened.
Kim Su walked over to Kim Yun-sung and said,
"See that, Kim Yun-sung? I just defeated 2 professional fighters. Even if I'm weaker than you, I can still help with your plan."
Looking directly into Kim Yun-sung's eyes, Kim Su spoke sincerely and with determination, "I'll be your piece on the board.
Let me help you. If you refuse, I'll do things my way. Maybe I'll become a variable you didn't expect." Kim Yun-sung, confused, asked, "Why are you going this far?" Kim Su didn't answer directly but instead asked, "What about you? Why are you doing this? Right now, you look like someone who wants to end it all."
Kim Yun-sung looked at Kim Su with a complex expression.
"What exactly do you want?" Before Kim Su could respond, Lee Ju-haka couldn't sit still any longer.
He shouted loudly, "Enough with the nonsense.
Get ready for the next match.
This is the last one," he continued.
And only one fighter remains.
That fighter was Shin Chang-hun, a mysterious fighter with tan skin and an arrogant demeanor. The crowd immediately began to jeer.
Disgusting. What a disgrace. Look at that. How could a professional fighter lose to a high school student? What is Coach Lee Ju-haka even doing? If things continued this way, Lee Ju-haka knew his reputation would be ruined. People would start to gossip that young Du Cheon was a better coach than Lee Ju-haka.
So, Lee Ju-haka decided to send in his trump card, his secret weapon to restore his honor.
There's only one match left.
"Coach, I haven't fought yet," said Shin Chang-hun, the most talented fighter Lee Ju-haka had ever trained.
Lee Ju-haka explained.
"It's just a small match, but you can still capture the audience's attention and restore my honor." Shin Chang-hun, feeling irritated, replied, "Such a hassle.
I was planning to make a grand debut and become a martial arts star. Coach, you owe me for this."
As Shin Chang-hun put on his gloves, the crowd outside buzzed with excitement.
Young Du Cheon asked Kim Yun-sung for his thoughts. "What do you think?"
Kim Yun-sung quietly considered, in the previous life, there were 2 fighters who became the future of national martial arts. One was Kim Mayan, and the other was Shin Chang-hun. Shin Chang-hun was known for his explosive fighting style.
He quickly rose to fame,
earning the nickname, the Explosive One, and capturing the attention of the entire country.
He was recruited by both Uflin Trong Mo.
Meanwhile, it took me 2 more years to return to the ring after that. But now, I've shed that old persona, determined to reach the top on my own. As for Shin Chang-hun, he hasn't reached that level yet, but he has great potential."
Kim Yun-sung turned to Kim Su and said, "We'll talk later." With that, he walked past Kim Su and toward the ring.
The moment Shin Chang-hun entered the ring, he launched an all-out attack,
skipping the usual probing phase, surprising everyone.
Kim Yun-sung immediately closed the distance between them. Seeing this, Shin Chang-hun was thrilled.
He's coming straight into danger. Good. If he wants a quick end, I'll oblige.
Shin Chang-hun threw a punch aimed at Kim Yun-sung's face, but Kim Yun-sung dodged by leaning to the side.
Without missing a beat,
Kim Yun-sung countered with a punch to Shin Chang-hun's stomach. The blow sent Shin Chang-hun staggering backward, gasping for breath and cursing under his breath. After regaining his composure, Shin Chang-hun launched a flurry of punches and kicks toward Kim Yun-sung. But all were blocked by Kim Yun-sung's arms. In response, Kim Yun-sung threw another punch, but this time, Shin Chang-hun dodged it.
Frustrated that he couldn't land a hit, Shin Chang-hun grew angrier. "You dare mock me?" he snarled. Meanwhile, Dung Du Cheon and Kim Su were observing Kim Yun-sung closely from the sidelines. Dung Du Cheon felt that something was off. This isn't Kim Yun-sung's usual style. What's going on?
There's no point in overanalyzing it. Kim Yoon-sung doesn't seem certain about his opponent's strength.
But it's simple. Seoul is still largely uncharted territory, and it's the enemy's stronghold.
I need to be prepared for unexpected situations. Kim Yoon-sung decided it was best to end the fight quickly. He loosened his arms and focused, mentally preparing himself. I'll deal with him thoroughly and swiftly. Kim Yoon-sung trusted his instincts. He knew he couldn't maintain perfect form forever, especially now that he was in Seoul. His eyes widened as he unleashed a series of counterattacks, forcing Shin Chang-hun into a defensive position. Shin Chang-hun, bewildered by Kim Yoon-sung's sudden change in fighting style,
found himself overwhelmed. Finally, he was backed into the corner of the ring.
Seizing the opportunity, Kim Yoon-sung threw a powerful punch that connected with Shin Chang-hun's jaw, causing him to spit out blood. Gritting his teeth, Shin Chang-hun refused to accept defeat so easily. He tried to mount one last counterattack, but Kim Yoon-sung gave him no chance. Kim Yoon-sung's relentless barrage of punches rained down on Shin Chang-hun. Kim Yoon-sung's coach didn't need to watch to know the outcome. Kim Yoon-sung was a perfect fighter. Gifted with a natural physique, a sharp ability to read his opponent's talent, and unyielding determination. But what made Kim Yoon-sung truly fearsome was his disregard for his own safety.
Always willing to risk everything to defeat his opponent.
With a fierce uppercut, Kim Yoon-sung landed a final blow that sent Shin Chang-hun flying out of the ring, ultimately knocking him out.
Coach Lee Joo-hak's face turned pale. His prized students had been utterly defeated, leaving him furious.
Meanwhile, the spectators burst into raucous laughter,
unable to believe what they had witnessed. Holy crap, this is insane. What a madman.
After his victory, Kim Yoon-sung approached his coach and said,
"Coach, I know my request was unreasonable. I know it wasn't easy.
But thanks to you, I've reached this level today. I'm deeply grateful to you for keeping your promise." He bowed in respect to his great mentor. His coach, with a gentle smile, replied,
"That's all I could do for you. Take care."
The students of Youngdo Cheon had decisively defeated Lee Joo-hak as fighters, shocking the entire martial arts community. News of Kim Yoon-sung's performance, his training journey, and his rise to the ring spread quickly. Many anticipated the rise of a new martial arts star. Soon after, Youngdo Cheon was flooded with messages from talent scouts.
"Where did you find these kids?" they asked. "What do you think about letting your students debut? Your reputation in the industry could use some improvement.
Let's arrange a championship match once we have a solid outcome." They acted as if nothing had ever happened, ignoring Youngdo Cheon all this time, and now shamelessly turning to contact him.
But for Youngdo Cheon, none of it mattered anymore. He sat alone in the gym, surrounded by empty bottles, silently reflecting.
"I thought that once Kim Yoon-sung and Kim Soo left, I'd finally feel free," he mused.
"But it seems I've lost my motivation instead." The coach, sitting in the corner of the gym,
drinking, replayed memories of his two exceptional students in his mind, like a film on rewind. Initially, Youngdo Cheon got into this for the money, but over time, he realized that, as someone who lived by coaching, he truly enjoyed it. At one point, Youngdo Cheon felt he had lost to Lee Joo-hak, but when he trained those two students, that thought disappeared.
He could have kept them and made more money, but could he really have done that?
As Youngdo Cheon pondered, a young man burst into the gym and loudly asked,
"Are you Coach Youngdo Cheon?"
Without waiting for an answer, he ran up and excitedly said,
"That match left a deep impression on me.
I don't care what others say, I believe you have what it takes."
The young man enthusiastically added, "So please train me. I want to be a champion."
Hearing the boy's words and seeing his passion, Youngdo Cheon was suddenly reminded of Kim Yoon-sung. This kid, he has a shadow of Kim Yoon-sung in him.
Why does he remind me of him? Feeling a sudden surge of joy and energy, Youngdo Cheon asked, "What's your name?" The boy smiled and said, "My name is Kim Mayan, coach."
A few days later, Kim Yoon-sung was talking with his close friend, Kim Soo.
Kim Yoon-sung explained, "I'm sorry. I can't bring you with me to Seoul. You know, what I'm doing is very dangerous." Kim Soo, unwilling to accept this, asked, "Then why did you even train me?"
But Kim Yoon-sung remained firm, "I told you, I'm not taking you to Seoul."
"But I didn't say I don't need you. I will contact you.
When the time comes, you'll come to Seoul because I'll need you." Kim Yoon-sung agreed to Kim Soo's request, saying, "For now, I'll leave Daesan to you."
"Can I trust you to take care of it?"
Kim Yoon-sung hoped Kim Soo would agree to his plan. The next day, Kim Soo walked into Pa Sung-ho's classroom.
Coldly, Kim Soo asked, "I have a question for you." Pa Sung-ho, puzzled, responded, "What is it?"
Kim Soo, after Kim Yun-sung had left, said, "Now that the power struggle has begun, who do you think should take control after Kim Yun-sung's departure?"
Pa Sung-ho, confused, asked, "Why are you suddenly asking this?"
Kim Soo pressed him, "Just answer.
Don't ask questions." Pa Sung-ho scoffed, "Obviously me. You might be Kim Yun-sung's friend, but you can't do anything, can you?" Kim Soo, irritated, responded, "Is that so? Seems like there's a problem here. After Kim Yun-sung left, you'll graduate, and this position will be vacant.
If I don't take this spot now, once you leave, others will think I'm a step below you, and they won't cooperate." The students nearby overheard their conversation, feeling anxious and scared.
"So, what you mean is, that's right," Kim Soo said. "Fight me for it. Let's settle this."
Bae Sung-ho stood up abruptly. "Kid, has power clouded your judgment?
It's way too early for you to take control."
But Kim Soo wasn't intimidated by Bae Sung-ho's imposing demeanor.
"What do you mean?"
"I've learned a lot from being by Kim Yun-sung's side." As soon as he finished speaking, Kim Soo and Bae Sung-ho lunged at each other, fists and limbs clashing.
After the fight ended, rumors spread rapidly throughout the school. Gossips and rumor mongers eagerly discussed the outcome. "Did you hear what happened?"
"I heard Kim Soo fought Bae Sung-ho and even beat him."
"Wow, is Kim Soo really that strong?"
"Not just that, but I heard Kim Soo is handling anyone who dares challenge him."
"He's taken down another one."
Kim Soo started looking for his next target.
After the fight with Bae Sung-ho,
Kim Soo began solidifying his position. Some students were still not convinced. A curly-haired boy sneered, "You arrogant dog." Before he could finish, Kim Soo punched him in the mouth, knocking him out cold. Kim Soo began dealing with the seniors, then moved on to the second and first years.
Anyone who dared challenge Kim Soo ended up defeated by him. Meanwhile, Park Jin-yu was standing on the upper floor. His friend beside him asked, "Why aren't you doing anything?" Park Jin-yu replied, "I'm the alpha wolf. Why should I act? If someone's going to be number one, there's always someone who'll be number two. I'm perfectly fine with being second here." The friend pressed, "But the number one spot belonged to Kim Yun-sung, right?"
Park Jin-yu scratched his head, embarrassed.
"Well, then third place is fine."
With that, Kim Soo became the top student at Junen. Time flew by, and as the final exams approached,
it also marked the end of the school year. Students were overjoyed that the school year was finally ending, with winter break and freedom just around the corner.
In the classroom, Kim Yun-sung remained calm and silent. He achieved perfect scores in every subject, 100 in all.
"This is the reason I did all of this. My grades and my presence in Gangnam."
A place where university scores can't be overlooked, combining both will make a real impact. Kim Yun-sung was undoubtedly a child of Hong Kim-vin, determined not to let those who hired them remain idle. He walked in deep thought until he was suddenly stopped by a student.
It was the fat boy. The boy blocked Kim Yun-sung and said, "I have something I want to say."
Kim Yun-sung didn't like him and looked at him coldly.
The fat boy began, "I know I'm pathetic. After you helped me, I ignored you. You're right to criticize me. I have no defense.
Since then, everyone sees me as selfish, and at school, I'm all alone.
But honestly, it doesn't bother me. No, actually, I'm happy about it."
He continued, "This was the only way to stop Park Min-chun and his gang from harassing me. A few days later, I finally knew what it felt like to breathe and live." At that moment, the fat boy broke down in tears, removing his thick glasses to wipe his eyes before going on.
"Even though I'm always alone, it's not as painful as being choked.
And now, I have many friends who understand me and stay by my side. Most of them share the same fate as me.
Sometimes I think about it. If I could go back to that day when the review committee was held, would I have chosen differently? Maybe not, because I'm still a coward.
I was too scared of what others said, so I always avoided it.
When I heard you were transferring, I couldn't do anything. I will never forget that day, never forget it.
So please know, I am truly grateful to you. Without you, I don't think I could have survived."
Lee Young-min's actions acted as a catalyst.
And soon, other students began approaching Kim Yun-sung as well. A blonde-haired boy came up to him and said, "Thank you for everything.
I will never forget your kindness." Another short-haired student approached,
thanking Kim Yun-sung. "Thanks to you, I was able to graduate smoothly.
If you're transferring, I'll support you."
Kim Yun-sung didn't want to engage much with these people.
In his mind, he thought, "I didn't help anyone because I wanted to.
I only got rid of those jerks because they were disgusting.
So don't smile at me. Don't thank me. I don't deserve any of that. Kim Yun-sung's actions, rooted in personal bitterness, could never be considered good deeds. Time will erase everything, he thought. If the emotions in my heart fade, I might forget my true purpose altogether. However, the situation was not confined to just the school. The same was true outside. A man approached Kim Yun-sung and asked, "Are you Kim Yun-sung from Choinin High School? I really want to thank you. Without you, I wouldn't be who I am today." Kim Yun-sung replied, "Why do you need to thank me?" Then, he walked past the man, saying, "I'm only proving my own strength. What I did was just stepping on those jerks' heads. So, there's no need to thank me." The man turned around and said, "It doesn't matter what your intention was. The fact that I escaped that hell was because of you. In Daesun, there are many students like me on social media. After you defeated those scumbags from Daesun, it became a place for us to connect with each other. We even discussed ways to deal with the bullies. I even had them provide real-time information about the hotspots." As the two men conversed, Kim Yun-sung decided to check it out. He saw messages like, "Does anyone want to come with me to Johnny High School? I really want to thank Kim Yun-sung. Even though he doesn't attend our school. He's done something amazing. Can school violence really disappear like this? Every time I think about going to school, I break out in a cold sweat." Those students were living in a daily hell. But thanks to Kim Yun-sung, a whole new world opened up. "I want to thank you on behalf of all the students here, Kim Yun-sung." The conversation with the stranger ended, and Kim Yun-sung walked down the street, lost in thought. More and more students were beginning to recognize him, smiling at him. He still vividly remembered how they used to look at him with fear in their eyes. It's like the wicked punishing the wicked. From the start, they were seen as demons. Even if the truth was distorted, it no longer mattered. The ones who had hurt Kim Yun-sung appeared one by one in his mind, crying and begging for forgiveness. He once thought he had stepped into the mud. But after cleaning up that trash, more and more people became happy. So, was what Kim Yun-sung did truly evil? No, it was punishment, a bloody punishment. Kim Yun-sung, like a god holding the scales of justice, judged the wicked. After all, in this world, someone had to do it. And Kim Yun-sung was willing to take on that role. That was why he returned to the past. Winter break began today, and Kim Yun-sung and Jae-in had finally come to an end. Regarding the school transfer, Kim Yun-sung had already spoken with Oh Dae-hwan and said goodbye to Kim Hyeon-chun. However, they had no idea that in Kim Yun-sung's mind, they would never be able to live peaceful lives again. Kim Yun-sung had no intention of sparing them just because they had once helped him. If it weren't for him, they would have gone on to help other scum. Rotten things should be discarded. A girl approached Kim Yun-sung and said, "Let's talk for a bit. It won't take much of your time." Kim Yun-sung replied with an emotionless expression. "I don't think there's anything to talk about. My father wants to meet you," she said. Hearing this, Kim Yun-sung widened his eyes in surprise. Soon after, Kim Yun-sung went to meet her father. The two met in a private room. Her father, named Choi Sol-pil, was a former high-ranking official. He extended his hand and said, "You must be hungry. Let's wait for the food to arrive, and we can talk while we eat." "You're a classmate of Choi Shona from Chuansu, right?" he asked. Kim Yun-sung listened attentively while silently calculating in his mind. All he knew about Choi Sol-pil was that he was a father who had lost his son and was now the chairman of the School Violence Prevention Committee. Choi Sol-pil continued, "I wanted to meet you because Choi Shona told me a very impressive story. Despite all my efforts to stop school violence, they've all been in vain. I never imagined that a high school student like you could achieve what I couldn't. I know how hard that must have been. That's why when I heard that school violence in Daejeon had significantly decreased, I was both happy and regretful. If only my son had had a friend like you." Kim Yun-sung sipped his tea, continuing to listen intently. Choi Sol-pil took another sip and went on. "If, at that time, someone had spoken up, maybe my son would still be alive." He paused for a moment, his eyes growing sad. "It's all meaningless. If only I had been a better father from the start." Choi Sol-pil fell silent for a while, reflecting. His eyes showed deep sorrow as he continued. "I was a terrible father. I didn't even recognize the signals my son was sending. You know, children from wealthy families rarely show their emotions. I never imagined that my son would experience something like that. That day, my son's grades plummeted, and I scolded him harshly. I forced him to stay up late to study, never once asking why his grades had dropped. Then, he asked to transfer schools. I thought he was just trying to avoid academic difficulties.
so I forbade it. That time haunts me to this day, he added, his voice filled with regret.
In the end, all I ever wanted was for my family to be happy. What could be more important than family happiness?
That's why I moved to Taejun, to properly educate Choi Shona and eliminate school violence. However, your methods were effective, while mine were not at all promising. A club to punish evil, if you want, Dae-san will do that.
So, I must tell you one thing. From this moment on, whatever you do in Seoul,
I will stand by your side, Choi Sol-pil said, his gaze growing firm and intense.
As long as there's a team of 5 led by me, no one will be able to stand in your way.
Choi Sol-pil stood up and declared, so remember this.
I will always have your back. People like me still exist.
Kim Yoon-sung also stood up from his chair.
I will definitely remember your words today. Thank you, sir.
Afterward, the two like-minded individuals, determined to punish evil, shook hands firmly. They found each other that afternoon, as golden sunlight bathed the ground. Kim Yoon-sung then went to the park to talk with Choi Shona.
I've heard the story from my father. He said he wants to wipe out all the people who hurt my brother. The reason I couldn't do it was because I didn't have confidence in my actions.
Kim Yoon-sung reassured her.
That wasn't your fault. Choi Shona continued. I know those people did wrong, but because of you, I now have a new dream.
She smiled brightly.
It doesn't matter what you do with the power in your hands. Witnessing it firsthand, I couldn't believe it, gave me goosebumps. Only power can sweep away evil. That's probably why you possess power. Choi Shona clenched her fists as if making a big decision.
She told Kim Yoon-sung. I want to become a prosecutor so that I can also have power.
I will live life my own way. Please be my hope. When I think of you, I won't give up. I'll keep moving forward.
Upon hearing this, Kim Yoon-sung smiled brightly and said,
I will wholeheartedly support you. Let's treat this as a secret promise between the two of us.
And so, the afternoon passed. The next day marked the beginning of winter break. Kim Yoon-sung put everything aside and focused on his family. The whole family went out to eat together.
As she watched Kim Yoon-sung grill meat, his grandmother murmured, This is a dish I've only ever heard about before.
His younger brother, excited, blushed with cheeks as red as apples, drooling as if his saliva was about to spill out.
It looks so good.
I can't wait to eat it, exclaimed Kim Yoon-sung's grandmother.
Kim Yoon-sung, grill some for me first. Let's all enjoy this delicious meal together.
After they finished eating, the whole family went outside to watch the snowfall.
Look, the snow is beautiful. Someone said. It's not that the snowflakes are beautiful,
but the fact that we are watching them together as a family makes the scene so much more special. That evening, Kim Yoon-sung's family went to the amusement park, taking pictures to commemorate the day. Looking at the photo of his grandmother, who appeared older, Kim Yoon-sung said, I will never forget this image of her, looking so youthful, almost like a young girl.
After a long day of fun, the family returned home.
His grandmother, smiling, said, My dear grandson, your hands are so soft. Just bring a girlfriend home, and we'll set up the wedding for you right away. Hearing this, Kim Yoon-sung laughed.
Grandma, I'm only 19 years old. But no matter what, family is always the best, he added. Do you want to dye your hair, Grandma? I can help you with it. Kim Yoon-sung's grandmother responded.
Growing old is part of nature's course.
Why hide it? Just take that money and buy yourself something you like. You've been acting a bit strange lately, haven't you?
There's nothing going on, Grandma, Kim Yoon-sung said. But inside, Kim Yoon-sung was thinking.
I can't tell her the truth.
This was the most precious and happiest time in Kim Yoon-sung's life. Returning to the past, he realized that the most amazing thing wasn't revenge, but that the pain his family once endured had disappeared.
That was truly the best thing of all.